So that opinion, typically about the presentation that like the defeat that like can govern by supplying like I'm looking the next program that would be sending them the thing would be like at the like which is definitely I'm presentation and definitely I'm looking like especially with like the current situation for like Leon and Leon like Mr. Rime since it's like basically the entire battlefield having like two element still kind of like terrain kind of like situation with like and the battlefield on top of like Mr. Fine having like a great advantage of like the current situation of like the entire battlefield being that of like fully covered with like items like Mr. Ryan as well like an attack of you know. And on top of that, like with like Mr. Ryan having placed like the psychic terrain as well on top of like the ice like Mr. Ryan also having like the extreme added advantage being in currently that extreme advantages situation with like the psychic terrain coupled with like the fact that like the psychic terrain has like I think like 30% boost with all psychic moves and the fact that like expanding Mr. Ryan has like the expanding force attack which has like a 50% percentage boost to like I think like it's like attack each time I think like it uses like the expanding force attack and that 50 add a 50% coupled with like the 30% of like 30% bonus add up extra power of like the cycle to brain like since like Mr. Ryan is in such an extremely advantageous situation in like the present I'm definitely prepping that the scenario to be like right now sending out like Dracos and at that point, and I'm looking at against Kratos, like I'm looking that definitely Leon definitely will be lack not having any sort of lag internet or of lag. Basically, regardless of which Pokemon has to be setting out next lag, Leon will be totally fixed in his mind that like according to the question that like since like in Savine currently since that's an extremely advantageous situation like Leon will be having like absolutely no intention at all of like sitting out with like in Savine at all. It's definitely one of the so like Leon the thing right now he just in mind to like definitely with that with the flat in the current and to as much as damage to like as Pokemon and Leon will be totally hoping the flat Mr. Since like it's like such an extremely advantage situation for like Mr. regardless of this or Pokemon actually setting that Leon will be absolutely feeling maybe right now he'll be feeling totally confident or confident along the lines of saying that will be before Mr. Ryan goes down, like Mr. Ryan would be able to like take out at least two Pokemon on the bench. Would be along the lines like Leon might be or completely changing right now. It's definitely not good. So like definitely my prediction definitely for like Leon would be right now having like absolutely no intention at all to actually talk with like Mr. Ryan. It's definitely not trying to support. Definitely I'm going to come in scenario to be like one has for my friends someone like actually setting out this like trackers like I'm looking like trackers like the moment it like lands on like the icy battlefield the moment it enters on like the icy battlefield itself like I'm looking at trackers straight away struggling to that to properly even stand and like maintain balance due to that trackers that not being able to due to like the icy field like the scenario that I'm looking for. So like I'm looking at straight away as like the battle begins to feel so I'm looking at the trackers that basically totally uh straight away I'm looking for that in the moment like the battle will be beginning itself like I'm looking at straight away for like beyond to that call out like once again profits like Mr. Prime to that use expanding force attacks. So like that highly forward like with that advantageous situation like the extremely highly forward like expanding force attack like being lost straight at like as Dragovic and I'm looking like Dragovic not being able to like dodge that attack to the whole IT field like looking at it like I'm looking so like with that single expanding both the track itself, like I'm looking at Krakow taking that extreme significant damage to like the point of like that single attack itself can Krakow should be like to be extremely taking extreme injuries and will be extremely exhausted with that single attack and Krakow can looking after taking that single attack like why so he's just struggling to like even stand up from like the extreme injury. Like the scenario that I was about. So like I'm looking like a scenario to be like with that single attack after taking that single attack it's just like Draco is totally laying on the floor. So like I'm looking like Ash totally even doubtfully asking Draco should like Draco to like keep going on. So like I'm looking at that point like Draco definitely would be having that absolute determination to like give up with like the scenario that I'm just so, like Draco with that absolute determination like standing up and settling on the frame between for like Draco is definitely being like a good learner, an extremely good learner when compared to all of like as like other Pokemon in like as like current fifth number Pokemon being like under my opinion that like Draco will be like the quickest that quick learner, the minimum bench. So the end of the that Draco is like quickly learning how to like adjust its feet to like the icy that he feels and everything like it's at that point like Leon only calling out like another expanding force attack. So like in that second expanding force attack is will be directed towards like Draco's jump to the left. Draco's left precisely with that absolute determination that Draco is solving that like like the scenario that I'm looking and then like I'm doing waters with that absolute determination like we coaching each and every single attack of like this right is like the scenario that I'm looking so that way I'm looking like that battle will be raising up looking like and I think that maybe that due to that end up having painted like I'm looking maybe that I think like I'm not sure but I think that maybe that end up painting possibly resulting in like the move disabling effect of that the end up like ability coming undone for like Easter line maybe or like I'm looking at during that time like after that is between that the battle between that as like Ratosh and that Mr.Rime will be progressing that without creating like between that the disabled move of like freeze dry like that disabled effect like coming out of so like I'm doing that time with period video so like I'm doing like Mr.Rime from that point going being like this it's like so it's right it's like those scenarios that I'm so backwards, and that way, like I'm looking at for like Leon to like use like the kind like so it's right move to like basically to create like icy boulders into like the icy battlefield and that way to like make it even harder for like Dragapult to maybe dodge that Mr. Rime like attack to be able to like move freely and like and just for like Dragapult to be able to like move freely and dodge Mr. Rime attack like an just another that I'm saying. But like I'm doing that like totally lack favoring like Kratos at that moment with like ability to do precisely during then that I'm looking like the time period for like the cycle seven something that would be over at that point to set the scenario that I'm in that way. Like I'm looking that the expanding force psychic type attack like Mr. Rime not having as much power as it would be having until then like the scenario that I'm looking so and regardless I'm looking like uh Krakow from that point on like I'm looking like till that successfully spotting that that kind of was and that in the police right attack that would be like launched but like Krakow by Mr. And eventually that Krakow badly injured and exhausted Krakow still with that absolute holding on to like that absolute determination like I'm looking like that second that must have back like making it towards second point and being able to like land one attack on this one is like the scenario that I'm playing. So like that attack I'm looking will be that see causing serious damage to like Mr. Rime. So like I'm looking after that attack like Mr. Rime launching another expanding possibly another expanding board attack. Or like I'm looking like it will be like another attack that might not even be neither expanding force nor like ice type boost right like something maybe like of the different type like move that actually using which is like Mr. Rime will that causing even more damage to like the already badly across the cycles like the other population are that I'm doing. So like I'm like still will be like extremely after that taking that second damage like I'm from like so I could really just struggling to get up and yet like I'm end up at that point I'm looking like Leon ordering for trying to like finish off Kratos with like a final attack. But like I'm looking like at that point with that absolute determination and willful that not give up and Kratos would have totally fixed in his mind that Kratos won't be going down without taking stuff and with it. It's like the scenario that I'm looking. So like I'm thinking with that as like Mr. Rime will totally and Leon will be all translating in that like this will be it for Kratos and we'll be launching that final attack uh, like still able to like Kratos at that last second, like still managing to like dodge that attack and then for that Kratos with that absolute determination to take Rime out of the land like Kratos finally charging its way into like the fully dodging that so and finally making sure like Mr. Rime and with that final that it's or maybe like it will be most likely dragon type attack like with that maybe like I'm looking at Kratos totally taking the Rime out and like Mr. Rime that way painting and that Michael shot will instantly that painting with that final attack that's due to like the card to add up effect of like all the extreme exhaustion and injuries that fighters would have taken until that point. But that would be like that final those that final like final that move to which like Draco should be giving it like with everything, all of it like the remaining power type of the remaining like Draco feeling that final move. It's everything and basically using it which like Draco should be like ensure to that board while taking Mr. Rime as well with it. That's why like I'm looking like the fight between like Mr. Draco and Mr. Rime ending up with like both working on training in the end with like doing that about the training of the also, like the minimum gems right now as for like ads are right now standing out with like Surface against like beyond like the line. Even while ads have like so many Pokemon like still remaining. Like the fact that like ads chooses like Surface to like face off against like beyond like Mr. Rime. I'm basically like where like Surface has like a fighting type, especially with like the current situation of like Mr. Rime itself, like with like for the situation of like Mr. Rime itself being an extremely advantageous sit in like favor of Mr. Rime, especially when it comes to like influence, like psychic type moves, like on top of like the fact that Mr. Rime is like a psychic type Pokemon. That way itself, like Mr. Rime psychic type moves having that being more powerful. On top of that, like coupling with the psychic terrain as well as like Mr. Rime also having like the expanding force move that collectively Mr. Rime, while Mr. Rime being in such an extremely advantageous position, especially connection to like Mr. Rime's like his side move. The fact that like Ash has right now send out a fighting type Pokemon as like perfect, even while Ash has so many Pokemon remaining. It is solely bring with this solely due to that sheer overconfidence of Ash. It definitely have a frame rate. So like Ash would be like right now totally blindly and overconfidently thinking to basically that basically is just like Pokemon would be like just blindly would be able to like pull through regardless of like putting them into like such extreme disadvantageous situation. Definitely my opinion. So definitely it seems like fighting type Pokemon like especially like thoroughly weak against like a psychic type attack like definitely prepping at the since like also like the fact that like Surfet's like fighting type moves doesn't have any sort of like advantages at all against like psychic and ice type Pokemon like Mr. Right. Definitely my book very impressionable right now, especially for like Ash's like current strategy to like extremely backfire on Ash itself if like the scenario that I'm looking. So like I'm looking at Surface like regardless of like whichever strategy and you like I'm looking at Surface not only being defeated but like Surface like get easily getting defeated without Surface being able to like do any sort of like remotely even any sort of like relevant damage at all to like the right now like Surface but getting taken out and like defeated by Mr. Mind like the scenario that I'm looking. So the player was looking like Surface like like he struggles to even especially in like the icy field like that delivering like Surface is even struggling to that even make it anywhere near to where the rainbow to. So definitely my with the so like I'm looking like I'm leaning more towards the possibility of like Surface like going down and getting defeated without even being able to land not even a single attack on like Japan. It's like the more likely possibility that I'm looking like the other possibility that I'm looking for like even if that Suffix actually being able to like land a single attack at like maximum or something like that being able to like only land a single attack on like Japan. Yet like I'm looking like that attack still won't be like strong enough to do that cause any sort of like even remotely significant damage at all to like the surroundings like the scenario that I'm going quickly with like the battlefield itself being like the stage itself being like fully ice covered and coupling with like psychic terrain and everything like since like it's like an extremely advantageous situation for like terrain but never regardless of like whichever fight and type move of like stuff like it's like the scenario that I was doing. If in fact like Ash Surface even manages to like land an attack or like Mr. Rime, like I'm still it will definitely be a fight and type move. And I'm looking like regardless, Mr. Rime will be definitely either dodging to a great extent that fighting type move and that way like that fighting type move not being able to like land properly at all against that or cost like the full extent of it like damage to Mr. Rime, especially because of like the IP field being extremely fair for like Mr. Rime that way instead of being blessedly starts that like fighting type attack of like stuff like just like one possible scenario that I'm doing. The other possible scenario is for like Mr. Rime totally um, maybe that regardless of dodging the computer, maybe that Leon getting more confident to the point of that Leon falling out, like making Mr. Ryan with some sort of like an ice type move or like a psychic type move to that counter that fighting type move of that surface and like that fighting type move of that surface like they really maybe that still somehow miraculously managing to like even to break even like a psych type or like ice type move and uh, basically being able to like still barely just managing to like land on like Mr.Rime and that they're talking just a minuscule amount of like damage to like Mr.Rime. It's like the maximum, like the most possible thing for like of like a damage and which possible would be like the least likely scenario where like that being like even like the most extent of like a damage that I'm looking for in that as just like fighting type Pokemon like Prophet in such an extremely disadvantageous situation like in like the Pokemon against like Sapphire would be even be able to like inflict against like Sapphire before like as a Sapphire would be like thoroughly defeated with like the scenario that I'm looking for. And definitely I'm still thinking to myself impression that like after like that point after like Sapphire's defeat like I'm looking like had totally realizing maybe that actually totally got or conflict totally had gotten more confident by sending sockets. It's also like an eventual purpose scenario that I'm looking and like then as totally deciding to like basically uh, as totally being like totally setting aside like I mean like this like all confidence and then sort of like at that point after like surface defeat like I'm looking at as sending out this like Krakosh is like the scenario that I'm putting and I'm still thinking about the conditions that like for to actually be as Krakosh that would eventually be able to that finally be even succeeding in that taking out like Leon's like stuff and I'm still thinking about the condition that like Draco is still not being able to that survive that extreme disadvantageous situation of like a fight against like the time like I'm looking like Draco is like while according to the mention looking for like Draco is like usually being like the one that Pokemon that would be like defeating Mr. Rime still that by the time that Draco will be defeating Mr. Rime that Draco is as well like succumbing to like the injuries and failures at that point. It's that thing scenario that I'm sitting on the range. And so like the portfolio that I'm looking to install like and basically using like software to like basic software like Meteor that name would like the name Meteor like software using that Python type name using its like D to like basically to destroy like the IC field like the other possible scenario that I'm looking and like add totally even still like add totally or constantly deciding to like basically to continue fighting off against like stuff and using with like stuff and like absolutely or completing that without like the IC field like the stuff I would be like suffrage as a suffrage might actually stand a chance in like in being able to bring down stuff and along this lines as for completing like also like a different purpose scenario that I'm doing and that like actually deciding not to like even after like destroying like the IC field like actually deciding not to like pick up with like suffrage and actually like continuing to that fight of Mr. Rime, like the fight continuing to fight of like against like the psychic type psychic attacks type like Mr. Rime against like Ash's like with like Ash's like uh fighting type stuff it even while like the psychic terrain as well as like the even while like the psychic terrain would be remain just like in the scenario of like another possibility that I'm looking but still I'm looking like at totally regretting his like decision and they really totally maybe even genuinely realizing that like or like feeling around the lines of like they will she was like totally or completely like use subway and basically as maybe feeling around the lines of that using subway was like a mistake and basically that that bad like even after like point like that other possibility like even after like surface destroying like the IT will like I mean like surface like easily getting taken out with like the with like the while like the psychic terrain would be still in effect like I'm looking like surface easily getting taken out by like the ultimate like expanding force attack of like nuclear mines and basically surface like thoroughly getting defeated without being able to like do much at all of like any sort of like proper damage or no damage at all against like survive. It's like the scenario that I'm sitting on the range. Okay, so like range right now is for like against like an extremely seriously slow Pokemon like perfect like face sponsor on like a nice battlefield that they leads the fact that like while as part of like the theoretical attack of like surface like the fact that Mr. Rime that basically charges in towards surface goes all the way up towards surface to like fight that sword fighting kind of like a close range attack like would be even that happening would be solely due to Leon's extreme overconfidence. It's definitely not the premise. So like I'm thinking, like even though all Leon had to do even though Leon could totally easily he just Mr. Rhyme at a distant range without going close range. Even though Leon could totally straight away simply afford Mr. Rhyme to basically while remaining while keeping that distance against surface. The fact that Mr. Rhyme could totally use a special attacks kind of a move the psychic type expanding force even from a remote distance while maintaining that distance against surface and easily definitely a fundamental win to be totally able to take out the fighting type surface with such absolute ease, especially with the situation being that of the psychic terrain coupling with the expanding force attack while you being used multiple times having that added boost of 50 percentage in its power and that coupled with 30 percentage increase due to the terrain since Leon right now could have totally easily taken advantage of all that against the fighting type surface so it's weak against psychic type mode to straight away just launch the expanding force attack from a distance at surface and easily cause either according to my reference either cause that way an extreme significant damage to surface to the point of surface would be struggling or basically even with that single attack the possibility of surface even fainting according to my reference might be even seriously high. Still that's the fact that Leon instead of doing that basically having his Mr. Rhyme go up to the extremely slow Pokemon as Puppet standing on an icy battlefield. The fact that Mr. Rhyme feels the need to go up to Puppet against Puppet's bug type Fury attack, which is super effective against Mr. Rhyme. And basically the fact that still Leon totally feeling the need to have this Mr. Rhyme go up to all the way up to Puppet to have this sword fighting with Mr. Rhymes icy stick against the Fury Cutter would be solely and solely Spring might be due to Leon extreme or confidence is definitely my preference. So I'm looking due to the psychic terrain existence of due to the fact that the situation is extremely advantageous for it's trying with the ice battling field being turned into ice as well as the psychic terrain as well as coupling that with Mr. Rhyme also having the expanding force and everything I'm looking Mr. Rhyme I mean Leon might have totally got an extremely overconfident thing that basically regardless of creating a possibility and a chance for surface to using its bug type even when surface is a fighting type Pokemon while using a bug type attack a Fury Cutter which is super effective against Mr. Rhyme even so basically Leon might have totally felt or confidence that basically and that way to have Mr. Rhyme go all the way up to surface and have uh so fight kind of a situation with surface against surface Fury Cutter still that won't be able to cause any sort of significant damage against Mr. Ryan would be might have been along the lines of an extremely or confident feeling that Leon might have had, and this might be the reason for Leon not taking advantage of the situation and using the expanding force attack and trying to straight away take out surface from a distance without even having Mr. Ryan even go up to surface might be using the for confidence of Leon is definitely my preference. So in short, my preference is that Leon's for confidence in the movie so extreme that is really that might be the reason for while as called out the move of as with surface to use the Fury because of that type Fury attack the fact that Leon didn't even fall out any move at all of for Mr. Rhyme just casually let Mr. Rhyme to have his skills and that way allowing Mr. Rhyme to go all the way up to surface to have his little sword fight with Mr. Rhyme's stick which is like which Mr. won't be even move at all. Like Mr. like Leon even letting that happen would be solely due to like Leon's like extreme overconfidence. So definitely my Mr. ambition. Okay, so like the new frame system right now are for like on top of like Leon not falling out any more from Mr. Rime and they're feeling Mr. Rime taking injury from like the three like a sword fighting three like the theoretical of like the on top of that like basically with like was Leon right now like telling Mr. Rhymes to like catch like the super effective dark type brutal swing attack of like stuff like I'm looking that definitely like that too as well would be like an add of extreme extending of like that extreme or confidence that Leon might be having is definitely my victory and pressure. So like I'm looking like since like the swing is like a dark type attack and basically is like the right is like a psychic type uh has like the psychic type to his like so like Mr. Rhymes is definitely under the ring will be getting seriously affected even more by like the total dark type processing attack of like Surface. Solely due to like Leon telling Mr. Fine to like catch that attack instead of like ordering Mr. Fine to like basically easily dodge that attack since like it's like an ice type field battlefield. So like even though upon the moment and the Mr. Fine will be easily able to like dodge that attack. Uh, the fact that like Leon told Mr. Fine to like catch that like disadvantage of like super effective like dark type like propulsion attack of like suppression like I'm definitely right now I'm like the moment Mr. Rhyme right now will be trying to like catch up that like catch that like propulsion attack like I'm talking like since it's like super effective against like Mr. Rhyme like I'm definitely Mr. Rhyme taking significant damage like the scenario that I'm doing. So like I'm Mr. Rhyme taking a lot of injuries like the scenario that I'm doing and maybe at that point like Leon finally snapping out of his like extreme or confident mindset and basically like actually starting to like basically fall out most pocket like Mr. Rhyme and basically actually like Leon from that point on actually starting to like basically decide to like fight seriously and use like the expanding ultimate advantage of the expanding force attack of that Mr. Rhyme against like the weak fighting type of like suffix and that before like the like terrain comes out is like seeing the scenarios that I'm looking so like I'm looking like maybe for like Leon totally falling up being able to like fall out like at this point I'm looking like after all this time passing like I'm doing after like I want to remember the mention like Leon always being away all this time like I'm sitting like Leon might most likely might be able eventually ending up being able to like fall out like a single expanding force attack of like Mr. Rain before like the psychic terrain would be that form and that would like soon after like Mr. Rain will be using that single expanding force attack against like Surface, which will be only landing on Surface and causing extreme injury to like Surface. But like as soon as that Leon will be that the Mr. Rhyme would be using that expanding force attack itself like at that point you shoot them when the psychic terrain like time period will be over due to using that Leon wasting away that absolute time to that take maximum advantage of that the psychic type like psychic terrain to that fall out all sorts of that psychic type moves against like the of like Mr. Rhyme against like the fighting type suffrage is like the scenario that I'm referring that way like the time for like the terrain being over and that it's like the situation with like just one more like expanding force just like in the situation kind of like a scenario that I'm wondering. Okay, so like the new green right now for like the fighting type Mr. Rhyme so easily and casually game to like catch and stop like the triple swing, dark type swing of like stuff is like maybe it might be due to like the two reasons of like one reason being like brutal swing only being like the 60 power attack and on top of that, like the back for that, like Surface is in fact like fighting type Pokemon. So like since like we think such like the dark type attack as well, some Pokemon like maybe coupling these two reasons might be the collectively these two reasons might be the reason for like Leon it being like so easy for like Leon's like Mr. Rhyme to be so easily able to like catch up and stop like several thing attack of like Surface dark type resisting attack like Surface. This definitely my secondary impression right. Okay, so like the mention right now, that's for like while like the entire battlefield is like covered in ice, and even while Surface is like an extremely slow Pokemon, and even when Mr. Rhyme itself is like easily able to like cross through like the ice type of Mr. Rime, making it possible for Mr. Rime to like easily and freely be able to like move through like the ice with like such ease. Like even while the situation like so extremely advantageous for like Leon's like Mr. Rime, the fact that like Leon right now feels the need to like basically to catch to have Mr. Rime catch up and hold on to like the brutal swing of like surface to then to have like Leon Mr. Rhyme dot like the expanding force attack like just strategy of like Leon and the trying to be costing Leon and his like Mr. Rhyme dearly it's like the scenario that I'm doing because like right now as like while holding on to like the brutal swing powered lead of like surface like with like Mr. Rhyme trying to like launch out its like expanding force attack like I'm doing right now itself but the scenario that I'm doing right now is for like Mr. Prime, while in such an extremely close range, while staying in such an extremely close range within like surface, with like surface like while launching the very expanding force attack and something like Ash totally like telling surface to like right now, giving surface that like motivation and confidence and to like not giving alone when I'm right now, Ash telling surface and basically I'm like in that close range while right now the difference within that close range while that Mr. Ryan will be like using the expanding force attack on surface like I'm putting it as like surface was taking in the damage like at that point so become like surface totally pushing through and that close range strategy of like Leon being extremely comfortable and convenient and advantages to like surface where with like the scenario where I'm doing where like I'm doing surface would be pushing more and putting in all of its like strength into like continuing like super effective like broken swing dark type attack which like Mr. Ryan right now is like currently stopping and that way like Mr. Ryan such like composition like definitely pushing through and basically once again keep on swinging. So like Mr. Rhyme losing its like grip on like the hold of like the protection of the attack of like the like the scenario that I'm seeing. That way like I'm looking suffering like continuing on like the dark side protection attack and I'm looking within that close range like Mr. Rhyme getting strike by that super effective dark type brutal sin attack and like that causing like significant damage to like Mr. Rhyme is like the scenario that I'm looking for like right now and let's say okay, so like the minimum permission right now as for like Leon right now that ordering like the triple axel ice type attack of like Mr. Rhyme and that way like once again like Leon instead of like trying to take advantage of like the psychic terrain to that use more psych type moves like the fact that like Leon is still sticking to like using ice type moves and on top of that, like Mr. Ryan being able like so easily close through like the ice with like such speed. Like the fact that like surface is extremely slow and basically on top of like just like ice speed and like so still even on top of all this stuff, even after all this like the fact that Leon is like repeatedly making like his like Mr. Ryan go up to like surface and especially with, like surface is even like a fighting type Pokemon which would is like totally uh, definitely surface like strong point would be definitely in like close combat and close range attack definitely my friend. Still like my emotions that Leon will be totally even while Leon is like undefeated champion like I'm saying that Leon still might not realize that and basically that would be like totally that way Leon without realizing would be like totally forcing is like the Rhyme to like go up to like surface where go up to like the location where within the ice field where like the extremely slow surface is standing and basically go up to there and attack them in like a close range attack and that way give ending up causing like the would be like without realizing like Leon would be like giving action that reflects upwards that extreme advantages that kind of like a situation by always having that mixer and go up to like upwards and take hits from upwards. It's definitely my difference. So like Leon would be like totally Leon would have totally I'm like maybe like Leon might have totally miss such uh, strategy of like basically focusing on like long range attacks and basically making it harder. The surface is extremely slow and since like for surface to like basically to move towards like where Mr. Rhyme is in like the ice field and to for like surface to like charge towards like Mr. Rhyme and to land for surface to like that way be able to like land an attack on Mr. Rhyme. Definitely Amazon will be extremely difficult for surface in like certain situations. So like instead of like trying to take advantage of that extreme slow period of surface and on top of like the fact that like surface is on an ice field. basically like the fact that Leon is like consistently and repeatedly making it like Mr. Rime who can move freely and easily through like the ice, go up to like Serpent and attack Serpent from like a close range, which will be like a strong point area of like Serpent. Would this is time considering definitely this collectively repeatedly like with like Leon trying the very same strategy like I'm going to eventually resulting in like definitely Serpent defeating Mr. Rime's definitely the scenario that I'm doing. So like definitely my 300 right now, definitely for like Angle Suspect, definitely defeating Leon like Mr. Rime. Definitely my premise. So like I'm doing like the more Mr. Rime would be like according to Leon's order, like the more Mr. Rime would be going up to what Suspect to like attack Suspect in like a close range manner. Like I'm looking like the more Suspect will be getting the opportunity to like unleash Suspect's like powerful Vikings powerful like attack on like Mr. Rhyme does that have to go crazy. Like well as Ashes like Suffet would have like struggled to like go up to like Mr. Rhyme to like land its attack to even be able to like land its attack on like Mr. Rhyme. Like Mr. Rhyme would be by going up towards Suffet like Mr. Rhyme would be like in actuality might be only making it easy for still be easy for like and possible even possible for like Suffet to even be able to like land its attack is anything like that like majority of this attack on like Mr. Rhyme might be what like Leon might be due to like the lack of awareness and without the conscious manner like Leon would be that giving that advantage to like hat and like subject will be what like Leon will be right now doing right now. It's definitely my content. Even with like the reflexive move as well. It's definitely my content. Leon might have only even forgotten about you all might be like often forgetting about like the psychic terrain and like how like the psychic terrain about like the psychic terrain and the fact that like the Buffet itself is like a fighting type Pokemon which is like extremely weak to like psychic type moves and they need like to take advantage of it. So like certainly my victory on Christian strategy since like the move expanding force has like the power to like strike each and every single one of like the opponent during like the psychic terrain. So like I'm moving like in a psychic terrain, like the range of like the expanding force attacks would be that much extreme in actuality. It's definitely my variant. Might be like the case of definitely one variant. And that would be like the only way like a single expanding force attack within like a psychic terrain will be even able to like land successfully land on like each and every single opponent. It's definitely my personal impression. So like I'm definitely so like especially since like the in like the current battle against like of like Mr. Ryan since like against like Surface like since like the psychic terrain is like still in effect like the fact that like Leon like is like making like Leon's like Mr. Ryan go up to and go get so extremely close to like Surface to even launch its like expanding force attack would be like solely due to like Leon possibly and totally being unaware like even like the great undefeated champion Leon like totally being unaware of this might be like the case with definitely my comprehension. So like I'm looking like my comprehension the main definitely according to in actuality like definitely something like Mr. Ryan might definitely especially in within like the second or right like whenever like the expanding post attack is used like the actuality of like the situation might be that like Mr. Ryan wouldn't even know have like absolutely no need at all to like go anywhere even near to like surface to like have it like expanding post attack like land on surface was definitely not the most. Yet like the fact that Leon is like repeatedly making stuff Ryan do that and exactly go up to like the opponent Pokemon and get in such extreme close range just to like launch and land that expanding force attack would be solely due to like Leon totally being unaware of this. Might be like the lead one victory ever. Okay, so like the minimum direction right now with like Leon once again offering stuff and to like use the very same triple axel attack and is the toughest about to use like the for theoretical like I'm working right now for like the scenario to be like Leon right now to be that most likely selling to like Mustafa and to like once again like cat like that theoretical attack. It's like the scenario exactly like how that exactly like how Mustafa had successfully got like that uh, brutal swings earlier. Like I'm looking at right now that Leon would be totally on more confident and like the great undefeated champion Leon will be like the scenario to be like the great undefeated champion Leon probably forgetting that the fact that Ash had already used like Fury Cutter once in the battle. Like Fury Cutter but type move is like totally super effective against the cycle type of like the rank and like the Fury Cutter like the move that uh, consecutively like have like that increase in like power, like the more it gets used. Like so, like I'm looking like Leon totally forgetting about that right now, and like Leon right now, with another that I'm looking like Leon right now totally undefeated. Leon right now once again telling that has like trying to like catch up and stop like the Fury attack of like Surface, and like I'm looking this time like I'm looking Survive will be like will be trying to like stop like the Fury attack, but this time like the Fury attack being like so way more strong on this time. Like the scenario that I'm doing, like this time, like I'm doing like the theory counter attack of like surface, like I'm leaning more to the possibility of like most likely with that theory counter, second theory counter attack itself, like I'm doing like surface, like taking out like Mr. Rime and defeating Mr. Rime. Like the scenario that I'm doing, that's like the more highly likely possibility that I'm doing. It's not like I'm doing like still Mr. Rime taking like extreme damage from like that second theory attack of that surface, and like Mr. Rime totally struggling and like seriously panting and like seriously getting injured, and Mr. Rime ending up either in such a situation or like Mr. Rime ending up straight away fainting. So that second theory attack the surface, like one of these two possible scenarios that I'm making right now. Okay, so let the new Brimson right now with Black Asher right now using the Black Surface Fury to that destroy like Factorin right now. Like I'm going to say like I'm going to send that time like as since like having like Surface enter into like the battlefield to face off against like Mr. Rime, like I'm going in that time like Ash might have never thought of such a strategy, and it might be only now that like Ash might have totally thought of like basically uh, uh, sort of like the battlefield giving the advantage for like Mr. Rime might be what might be happening, and might be only, and that might be the reason for like actually taking this entire time uh, with like the battle between like Prospects and Mr. Rime being going on for like within that time, and only now like I'm thinking of like such a strategy might be due to like it might be only now that like she might have even thought of such a strategy, or even thought of like basically like totally like the advantage like the battlefield was like given to like survivors like the possibilities that I'm referring. So definitely I was referring like after like 2 or 3 with like surface like theoretical like throwing like the psychic terrain like I'm referring like next, and I'm referring like after like 3 or more turns after like as a surface as well as like the Mr. Rime would be like attacking each other. Like I'm looking like maybe of like scenario where like after like 3 or more turns, like Ash totally suddenly once again remembering that basically the entirety of like the battlefield is like covered with ice, and basically that making it like so extremely advantageous for like a nice type of the mod as like Mr. Rime to be able to like easily cross through and move through with such absolute speed. So like I'm thinking maybe like in a similar manner, like I'm thinking like Ash after like 3 or more turns of like exchanging attacks between like Suffrage and like Sarang, like I'm like I suddenly remembering to like basically to use like since like Suffrage is like a fighting type of monster, to like totally use like Suffrage like fighting type attack to like totally destroy like the ice battlefield, and that way to like destroy like the advantage of like Mr. Rime as totally thinking of that and coming up with like such a strategy, all of a sudden remembering such a strategy and coming up with such a strategy after like 3 or more turns after right now is like still into scenario that I'm basically referring and my preemption. Okay, so like the thing preemption right now as for like surface like basically destroying like the psychic terrain and beyond being impatient thinking that like so that both like as for like I'm different definitely like Leon I'm different right now like the great undefeated champion Leon right now the might be in like an extremely confused state with like and Leon might be like totally out of focus right now. Especially might be the case right now with like Leon definitely one friend because like I'm certain definitely as might have definitely not at all had any goal at all. Like basically the destruction of like the psychic terrain using like the theoretical complex of it might have definitely not all been a goal at all for access the universe. So because like if it were the concept of like a fundamental for in terms of if it were like a goal of as that as wanted to like achieve like as might definitely straight away the moment as it send out like suffrage to like face off against like Mr. Rime itself like as would have straight away order which like Mr. Rime like the first thing as would have made with like Mr. Rime uh, as would have made with like suffrage to might have been like the moment like as send out with like suffrage itself like as would have told with like suffrage what are the like surface to like use like the theory to try and destroy like the psychic terrain which surface put out and Ash put out done like during like the moment like Ash had sent out like surface to like the battlefield is definitely not the rest. So like I'm doing like for the members definitely it definitely won't be at all a goal of like might have never been a goal at all as to like destroy like the psychic terrain using like the theory cut. It might have just been a scenario where like at after like fighting with like puppets against like Mr.Rime for so long. Even after this great number of turns, like it might have been only right now that like Ash might have suddenly remembered of like basically like the battlefield giving such extreme advantage to like Mr.Rime and like it might be only right now that Ash might have or like it might be only right now that like Ash might have suddenly realized that basically like puppets like theory cut might be able to like destroy like the psychic terrain and like that way like it might have been an instantaneous like spontaneous like thing that might have popped up into like Ash's mind and Ash might have straight away ordering his laptop which will use like the theory that and destroy like the psychic terrain might have definitely been what might have happened right now in like the person look like Ash it's definitely my premium goal. Like it might have definitely not all been a goal of Ash to like basically destroy like the site turret within Surface attack because like if it were like Ash could have done that in like the very beginning itself, like the moment Ash had sent out like Surface it's definitely so like because of this reason like I'm going to like Ash might have definitely not even had a goal at all to like destroy like the psychic terrain using like Surface like attack. It's definitely not the case. Okay, so like I'm stating to my book, we understand that like for like again the terrain with like Asher Rhino putting out his like surface and telling out of like the barrier definitely putting like so like Ash might have totally even after like destroying like the psychic terrain using like the theory of like surface like everything like Ash might have still completely forgot about like the ice itself that has covered like the entire effective battlefield and the entire time was like giving like that added advantage to like Mr. Rhyme to be able to like move with like such speed all throughout like the ice and everything. So like I'm looking like maybe right now after like spending the carry on the Supreme right now for like actually suddenly remembering that basically that the ice battle field being like still the advantage for like Supreme. So like I'm looking like literally I'm looking right now maybe like the first thing I'm looking maybe for like a scenario where like right now the first thing as might do right now, but like the career possibly maybe being like as for right now, possibly maybe telling straight away or Lucario to like basically to use it like fighter type mode to like basically to destroy like the ice battlefield. So like Lucario straight away doing that. It's like right now it's like the strongest of the scenarios that I'm considering right now, not to okay, so like the minimum current right now as for like extending out with like the Lucario and Mega evolving it into like the very same Mega of Lucario and basically like the fact that it's for right alone it's like getting so much of like a spotlight. So like I'm looking right now for like as of like Mega Lucario like taking out at least three of like regardless of like as switches out of whether as like eventually switches out of like Mega Lucario or not like I'm looking regardless of that like I'm looking like as of like Mega Lucario I'm considering that would be like taking out three. Like at most, like I'm doing like as Mega Lucario taking out three of like Leon Pokemon. It's like the angel scenario that I was with right. And by go to the ambush. So while I'm doing like the case of like Dracos, like I'm doing like Dracos definitely like taking out at least one of like Leon Pokemon and like in the case of Surface, I'm doing like Surface maybe not being able to like surface right now has gotten so much of like a screen space and screen time like I'm saying, like surface like the moment now like I'm like eventually want like had to be like bringing back as like surface into like the battlefield eventually was bring like at that point like surface not even being able to like take out like that exact Pokemon against soon surface would be facing off against like the scenario that I'm playing. So like I'm looking like right now my representative for like thing like as that against Leon like I'm looking surface not even being able to like take out and defeat like not even a single Pokemon like Leon while uh while like Trackers I'm considering like taking out one Pokemon of that Leon. And Lucario was the most likely taking out at least three Pokemon of that Leon like the scenario that I'm considering like Lucario was like would be getting Amazon right now getting like almost like the very same equal amount of like the range space that has like Pikachu definitely member trends and Amazon like definitely in that final battle between that the Amazon it will be like Leon's like mega I mean, like Leon, like Gigantamax starts out versus like as like tiny Pikachu. It's like the definite eventual scenario that I'm going to especially with like as having already used up with like Gigantamax like gimmick like I'm looking like the final showdown being between like the extremely huge Gigantamax starts up of like Leon was like the tiny Pikachu of Ash and I'm looking like that in that battle and I'm looking that battle between Pikachu and like the Gigantamax starts up like going on for like and taking up a lot numbers of like going on for like a long times like the scenario that or like I'm doing like the giant dynamic stuff are like there's no sort of like ultimate powerful attacking games like as Pikachu yet like I'm doing like I never before seen Pikachu's like what I'm doing like at that point I should be witnessing like Pikachu at that point all of a sudden like having like a never before seen determination and that absolute will to like not give up. I'm going to connect that. That way, I'm going to bring like the listener to be like that very same ticket of act who usually lack that lack extreme stamina or like endurance. Like I'm going that very same ticket of act like all of your in like this like final battle against like Leon. Like I'm definitely putting the scenario to be like that very same ticket to like having that extreme like endurance and stamina and everything that like I'm looking like even while taking in like the massive and powerful like Gigantamax version of that attack from like the Gigantamax giant Chakra of like Leon like still as a Pikachu, tiny Pikachu without any gimmick like still holding on like still keeping on getting up each and every single time and like that happening for like a great number of times in like playing this scenario that until like Pikachu feel like point is struggling to like get up and I'm looking at that point would be when I'm looking like actually once again calling out like that ultimate dream move gimmick of like Pikachu and I'm looking like that dream move like probably and especially I'm looking like it for to be most likely a scenario where like Leon Sharp at that point you'll be still in like gigantic form so like that way unlike in like as if like battle against like Steven, I think like where like Steven like Metagross like where like as if like Pikachu alone has that special remove that like chases after like the opponent Pokemon even after like the opponent Pokemon dodges like the remove attack like I'm looking at uh in like the final showdown battle between like Ash and Leon, like I'm looking like the scenario to be one like Ash and Leon will down to the last Pokemon and like Leon will be like Gigantamax with like Jasper like I'm something like Ash Pikachu not as Pikachu like this time like not having to like struggle and control it's like special remove uh this time would be like scenario that everything because like Jasper will be like at that point Cinder remember in the Jasper of Jasper doing like giant dragon and form like landing that remove on like Jasper uh, remove Pikachu on Charcoal being extremely easy for like Ash and Pikachu without them having to like take out like the removes like special powers of like basically following like the opponent Pokemon. It's like the scenario that I'm doing. So like that way like Pikachu is easily landing his like remove on like the Charcoal Gigantamax Charcoal of Leon without much great difficulty and basically it's that way like as Pikachu like using it like remove defeating like Leon Charcoal and that will be how like that should be defeating like the final scenario to it, like actually like repeating the honest like my consideration is okay, so like the main prevention right now for like due to like the ice battlefield like with like the Mr.Rime like this did all the even like the bullet punch of the Megalithari. I'm just bring like at least right now like I'm just bring like Ash finally figuring it out and basically I'm just bring like scenario to be like Ash ordering his like Megalithari to like use its like bullet punch like onto like the ice battlefield and that way like finally like as remembering the importance of like destroying like the ice battlefield and basically taking that advantage away from like Mr. Prime. And basically that way that about like scenario to be like at that point like Lucario using his like bullet punch throwing and like throwing the pen that reflects the high stat is like the scenario that I'm looking for to bring in friends. Okay, so like the redemption right now as for like answer right now, even right now like no ordering like Mega Lucario to like destroy like the ice battlefield and instead like telling his like Mega Lucario to like focus on the core like I'm sure that might be due to like maybe but like maybe Ash might want to like show like Lucario's like aura powers to like the crowd and totally put on a show like and then like Ash might want to like impress like the audience by like having Lucario totally using it like displaying its like aura powers and having like to all the audience and basically having like Lucario even while keeping like the ice battlefield intact and while even maintaining that like ice battlefield advantage to the Mr.Rime like to still have that Lucario be being able to land its attack on like the Mr. Right to that way show off that the ultimate power of like Lutharius aura and to like impress like the crowd and the might be what like I'm considering right now as would be right now attending and that might be the reason for like answer right now even right now like instead of like basically destroying like the ice in like the battlefield like telling or like Lutharius to like focus on his like aura right now definitely might be what might be happening right now is definitely my going through at its mind actually then this might be at intent is definitely my preemption right now. Okay, so like definitely my preemption right now as for like the great undefeated champion Leon like basically even right now that not coming up with like any sort of new strategies and instead like basically Leon right now so like Leon right now once again like repeatedly like ordering like trying to use like the very same triple axel attack like over and over again like I'm looking like so like my Bundria mentioned that I'm sitting on this that like Leon right now like the person might have totally lost his like focus in like the battle and everything. Definitely my mention might be the reason for like I'm looking like this entire time like Leon totally repeating like the very same triple axis attack of like Mr. Right instead of like the very same Leon who had basically switched so much in like the beginning stages of like Leon's battle against like Ash like basically that very same Leon like basically right now, especially with like there being absolutely no psychic terrain at all, like with like terrain only having it like um ice battlefield alone as like an advantage, and basically it's like Mr. Rhymes like ice type moves like not being able to like so much at all against like Lucario, not affecting Lucario not much at all and all that. Like I'm looking even in such a situation like Leon still deciding to like not fall back like Mr. Rhymes would be totally due to like Leon totally possibly losing that focus and totally forgetting about like falling back as like Mr. Right and setting out another Pokemon to like basically take out like the Mega Lucario. Definitely might be what might be going on with like Leon right now. Definitely not for him. Okay, so like definitely not for him. So right now as for like Leon's like next Pokemon being like Dragapult that way like four of like Leon's like Pokemon in like Leon's like current six member teams having been already revealed. And I'm still thinking about the generation as for like the sixth and final Pokemon of like Leon. I'm thinking about the generation which definitely be Leon's like ace Charizard is definitely my creation. But like the underrated Pokemon in that Leon's like current six member team. But the problem would be where like I'm probably predicting like that is would be happening where like I'm going to need to think about so that's the Pokemon underrated Pokemon of that Leon. The different that would definitely be Ethernet is definitely my good variant that I'm sitting on which I'm not really and one like Ethernet will be kept going up like I'm doing like Ethernet like single handedly taking out like three of like as Pokemon before like Ethernet is like at that after like taking out like the third Pokemon Ethernet would be like totally losing its like control of like the scenario that I'm doing and that loss of control of like Ethernet is something will be taken advantage of by like the fourth Pokemon that like hash will be setting at that point, which would be like probably for and negating internet like the scenario that I'm sitting on the screen. Also, like the cinema trends right now is that like since like Leon like Dragapult like those type and just like that way Ash like Megalisario won't be able to like use any of it like fighting type moves like I'm definitely preferring like since like definitely like even though Ash of like Megalisario has its like skill type moves. Like definitely I'm looking like as like Mega Depar's strong point would definitely be its like fighting type moves, especially with trainers. So definitely because of this reason itself, like I'm looking definitely as like even though Ash right now decided to like continue that fighting like Dragapult versus like Mega Desario. So bring like without much delay at all, like I'm looking like Ash would be like falling back with like Mega Desario like the scenario that I'm looking. So like I'm looking definitely for like Ash of like definitely that's like the definite middle scenario that I was looking. So like definitely it won't be Mega Lucario that would be like defeating the Dragapult of Leon. It's definitely my three ambitions. So that because like definitely my three ambitions that like basically right now with like as of like decision to that fight like the Dragapult with like the Mega Lucario like I'm doing still like I'm doing with just like using like the steel type moves of like definitely like scenario to be like as like totally just relying on like the steel type moves of like as like Mega Lucario to lag but in an overconfident, if definitely I'm sitting along solution them as to be only feeling overconfident just because like Lucario having all that like aura and everything like I'm doing still as the bit only thing that you can like Lucario's aura can be used to like spot with like opponent and they bring not just to like use fighting type moves but also to like spot like the location of the opponent and everything like I'm doing like so due to the reason I'm considering that definitely and with you right now in like the person will be totally feeling off on but which definitely might be the case but again so we're only thinking along or completely thinking along the lines right now as for like basically by relying on like Lucario's like or like specifically like Lucario's can't fly and like since like Dragapult can totally fly as well. Like I'm definitely like it will be definitely even with like Lucario's like great aura and everything like I'm like being fast too easy for like Bioport to like dodge like even using like that of like Lucario's like the definite scenario that I'm doing. So like I'm looking like at like the maximum definitely bring like Lucario totally maybe landing like just a single shield type attack on like the Bioport like scenario that I'm looking and that like not even doing even like remote bit of like a damage at all to like the rival to select the scenario that I'm like Lucario like steel type moves like and not even facing like the rival select the scenario that I'm that way that's totally maybe like usually feeling that like he got off confident and I'm just bringing like at that point like Lucario not being able to do anything at all other than even with like right type moves against like the rival like I'm just like that way, like, as eventually, that situation is what I'm looking and that's resulting in, like, as totally starting to, like, call back with, like, scenario. And I'm looking at that point, like, as sending out with, like, Dracovic is, like, the scenario that I'm looking at. In that fight between, like, Dracovic and Dracovic, like, I'm looking, like, and in that fight, like, I'm looking, like, Leon probably not falling back just like Dragapult is up as like the scenario that I'm thinking. So like Leon will be totally confidently think that basically Dragapult would be like would be able to like since like Dragapult can't fly and since like Dragapult can like I'm saying like even though both have their dragon type like and Leon will be totally think that basically Dragapult would be having that added advantage of like being able to like fly. And so like Leon's Dragapult would be able to like defeat like the Dragos will be along the lines like something like in an overconfident manner like Leon will be totally approaching that battle and so like Leon totally deciding to like not fall back with like Dragos is like the scenario that I'm doing. But like in that fight like I'm doing like remember initially I'm looking like Dragos is struggling a bit against like Dragapult solely due to like Dragapult being in that flight and all like I'm looking like eventually the scenario to be like eventually once like a part-time person like launching some sort of like beyond making like tribal like attack some sort of like close range attack against like Dragos and at that point I'm like using like Dragos like huge jaw like I'm like Dragos like capturing Dragapult like I'm like Dragos like biting onto like the one of like the wings of like Dragapult and like Dragos at that point won't be like letting go of like Dragapult like the scenario that I was in because like I was in that battle like Dragapult would be like patiently and desperately would be waiting for that chance to like for it to be able to like catch up Dragapult. It's definitely it's Joe's like the scenario that I'm looking so Dragapult with Joe's like the scenario that I'm looking like until then I'm looking the scenario to be like regardless of whatever strategy that Ash and Draco should be using like a Dragapult like easily solely due to like being able to like fly easily being able to like shot on that attempt of like attacked by Draco against like Dragapult is like the scenario that I'm looking but like I'm thinking eventually like totally Draco is getting a chance and looking that way like Draco is like totally fighting on to like the one of like the wing of like the of Dragapult and I'm looking with that like I'm thinking that Draco is most likely slamming that Dragapult onto the ground and that would be like I'm thinking like such an intense and ultimate slam that I'm looking which would be like taking out instantly taking out like Dragapult like the scenario that I'm doing and that way like I'm thinking like possibly even Draco is like basically uh, defeating. Dragapult is like while Dragapult will be like surviving. It's like the eventual possible scenario that I'm considering as of right now in the game. Okay, so like the hero range right now as for like Asher right now ordering like two moves in a row for his like Mega Lucario, like double team as well as like bullet punch, and Lucario even having to like jump and like land like that bullet punch on like the Draco on like the Dragapult that can totally fly. And the fact that like this entire time like while even while at has given two borders and like Lucario as like Mega Lucario has like executed two Pokemon moves, the fact that Leon is like totally remaining absolutely silent and not even ordering like rival this entire time to even attempt to like dodge that bullet punch, incoming bullet punch from like Lucario. Like the fact that Leon is like totally remaining silent and letting his like rival like taking that attack. Like the fact that like the great undefeated Leon like basically not even at least being able to like come up with like any strategies at all to at least ensure like the with like Dragapult is able to like either dodge or even counter like Lucario's incoming attack as like basically as was like actually ordering like two moves like double team as well as like bullet punch of like Lucario, and as like Lucario was like running and towards like Dragapult and had to like jump up towards like Dragapult to even reach to even for like Lucario to even be able to like reach it like bullet punch at like Dragapult and to like land at that attack at that Dragapult. Just in that time for like Leon to like remain silent. But the example is still thinking about the mention that it will be totally due to like Leon totally being out of focus. Definitely I'm right. Because like I'm thinking like Leon's mind right now would definitely be not thought would be in like the battle field. Would not be in like the battle field. Definitely I'm thinking. So like I'm thinking like Leon right now definitely like the more like Leon is like fighting off against us, like Leon's like mind would be drifting off, might be like drifting off more and more towards like the days in like the past when Leon might have had his like very first battle in his life, and that might have definitely been against like Sonya, but like I'm just like in that very first battle, like the great undefeated champion Leon back then might have been while having his like very first Pokemon battle in his life might have only lost against like Sonia. Definitely one of the remission, and in like it might have been only in like Leon like after like Leon like getting totally frustrated, like Leon might have totally got frustrated from like that loss, and Leon might have maybe like Sonia might have given tips and helped out like Leon to like trade to out of a friendship that might have helped Leon out and might have been like the first person to elect first might have been like the first and like the only person like Leon's life that might have trained Leon might have been Sonia. So like I'm thinking, like after that Sonia helped Leon out, like I'm just like Leon might have had the free battle against like Sonia, and it might be like Leon might have been a quick learner. So like I'm just it might have been in that second battle against like Sonia that like Leon might have defeated Sonia. And so that like Leon might have definitely never lost, not even once in his life. It's just the premise. So like I'm just like Sonia like such a great friend of like Leon, and it might have been due to like Sonia being maybe like it might have been due to like Sonia forcing Leon to like not reveal that he had like a lost in his like very first like very first battle in his life against like Sonia. Like Sonia might have out of a friendship, maybe like Sonia might have wanted to like keep that a secret, and then like the more Leon might have been like winning battles like against like all sorts of like opponents like under Sonia might have been totally cheering Leon on and might have been totally proud of like having a friend like Leon. So like it might have been due to like Sonia that like Leon but and it might have been Sonia herself that might have even brought about like that name for like Leon that like he's this undefeated trainer, and that might be how like if Leon might have, who might have since then might have never lost, might have ended up becoming like the undefeated champion. But deep down, like Leon might be totally feeling that absolute guilt of like basically totally freaking and pulling like the entirety of like the aspect of the world into thinking that like Leon is like actually an undefeated champion when in actuality like Leon had basically lost the very first Pokemon that win like definitely might feel like that the situation the feeling of the so like I'm thinking that back then like on back when Leon had his like first battle against like in his life against like Sonia like the personality of like Sonia and the mannerisms and everything of like Sonia like which would be what like Leon might be like seeing in Ash because Leon is this might be the reason for like Leon and friends and well Leon felt before like before in facing off against Ash just remember the so connecting to Ash might be the case that Leon like basically feeling that tension as well. So like I'm just like even though right now since like the situation that the battle again has going on like so the only like the person won't be feeling that stress because like Leon would be in that flow of that battle. But like I'm doing still Leon's situation would be like every time like Leon would be like looking at Ash like and Leon would be like totally having his like mind sort of think off to left towards like back when then Leon and Sonia were like extremely young and they back to the days when like Leon has to like first battle against Sonia and back when like and Leon had lost against Sonia. Definitely was great. But like Leon would be like in the present would only out of focus and would be like mind would be like in the present while like the battle is going on against as like Leon's like mind would be totally filled with like memories of like the days with like Sonia back when they were uh, spending time together as back when they were young. Definitely knows their people. Look where Leon will totally out of focus from like Leon Black again. And this will be the reason for like Leon like this reason why Ashes like right now uh, have given like two orders to this like Mega Lucario. Two attack moves, even while Lucario has used like two attack moves like consecutive in a consecutive manner, like basically Leon on the other hand basically absolutely not even given a single order at all to this like Dragapult. And that resulting in that is like Dragapult like basically getting strike by like the bullet punch of like the target would be all due to this like out of focus situation of like Leon, an extremely unprofessional and out of focus situation in which like the great undefeated champion Leon would be in right now. It's definitely my personal reaction. So like the minimum prevention right now for like the dragon dive symptomic attack of like Dracosham, the current definitely dragon but easily being able to like dodge it like dragon but like straight away flying and easily being able to like dodge that reflect the scenario that I'm looking and also operating like due to this like whole lack of focus situation which like Leon would be going through right now and the luckily Draco is like I mean like Draco but like totally dodging all by itself without like Leon not even saying putting out any orders because like Leon won't be like not having any focus. It's definitely not my experience. But for like the scenario that I'm doing, so like I'm doing like Draco is like easily sorting by itself and like then at that point like I'm looking like uh and at that point is when I'm like Leon would be like back to like focus, and at that point like Leon would be calling out like some sort of like a powerful dragon type move of like Draco, just like the scenario that I'm of like Draco scenario that I'm doing, and that would be like landing a direct hit at like Draco's like the scenario that I'm doing, and causing like a serious extent of like a damage to like Draco's like the scenario that I'm doing. And I'm still thinking about the impression that like in the current like trackers versus like trackable pad, like trackers should be having that serious struggle to even to that totally landed attack on like Dragos that in or to be able to like land attack on like Dragapult, like I'm something Dragos will be having that ultimate struggle until like the very end of their battle where like I'm like preparing neither of like neither Leon nor as like shooting out their Pokemon in this current battle between like Dragos and Dragapult like scenario that I'm doing. So like something like Dragos like as like the battle is like I'm still given that like Dragos like taking more and more uh strikes from like rifle stack attacks and taking more and more injuries until like the very end like of like the battle like where like Draco is also in the process would be when like Draco will be finally will be able to like grab hold of like the wing of like rifle using its like teeth using its like jaws and basically landing that slam attack and like taking out rifle is like within another that so like definitely I would say like even though right now I think like Draco should take in this battle current battle like Draco taking a lot of injuries still I'm something like Dracoish would be like surviving like the battle while also defeating Draco like scenario that I'm spitting out on the image. So that's like the name of preemption right now for like Draco's like body shivering as well as like glowing mid that like I'm going to be definitely would be like the foreshadowing of like Draco's eventually like in this like very badly itself remember definitely putting like Draco's like learning some sort of like an ultimate dragon type move. Extremely powerful dragon type move. Like the scenario that I'm thinking. So like definitely definitely I'm still thinking my preparation that like Draco's would be like that's only Pokemon like has like characters from a thing that will be like far more of like a quick learn of that even like any of like as like current Pokemon or being Pokemon depending on the profession. And on top of that like Dracos would be like even quicker not only when it comes to like adapting to like unpredictable and uncertain situation and like difficult situation where like the what would be in trackers, but also like I'm looking like trackers would be also a quick learner when it comes to like even learning new moves as well. Definitely Michael Graham. So definitely like this would be like the situation right now. So like I'm thinking like right now trackers should be like actually about to learn some sort of like a new move. But like I'm sitting right now with like trackers like body flowing like I'm looking like still like I'm looking the glowing effect like I'm looking like coming undone right now itself is like the scenario that I'm doing. So like I'm looking like everyone being confused as to like what's happening with like trackers. It's like the scenario that I'm looking. But like I'm looking like the scenario to be like still I'm looking like it should be I'm looking like trackers like typically my inspiration for like trackers is be suffering a lot and taking a lot of like attack from like Dragapult but like trackers still not being able to like capture Dragapult but finally one like trackers will be able to like uh capture like Dragapult most likely through its like wings like I'm thinking at that point would be when like I'm thinking like Dragapult trackers would be like finally like learning that ultimate like some sort of like an ultimate powerful dragon new dragon type I'm looking like dragons at that point would be learning and like I'm looking like right now the thing we need to do it would be through a slam attack by dragons that like dragon through which like dragons will be defeating dragon but like I'm looking like the scenario to be like eventually like finally like trackers like patient paying off eventually for like trackers finally being able to like grab on hold into like Dragapult's like wings. So like I'm looking like maybe of like scenario where like at that point like I'm looking maybe like Leon telling like Dragapult to like basically to take it to like skies and maybe like maybe initially at that point like Dragapult will be trying to like shake off like Dragos like the scenario that I was doing. Yeah, like Dragos is like Dragos is like Joes or like Joes being is strong like I'm just like regardless of like what Dragapult will be doing like Dragapult will be able to like take off like Dragos from its like it is like the scenario that I'm just like maybe at that point like maybe Leon telling like Dragapult to like maybe to try to like take it to skies or like I'm thinking definitely Dragapult as well would be like seriously strong. So like I'm thinking like Dragapult trying to like basically Dragapult especially would be like an extremely heavy Pokemon. Certainly one very sure like I'm thinking like Dragapult totally lifting Dragapult up a bit into like the sky. But like I'm thinking like at that point I'm just like Dragapult like it would be like Dragapult would be like struggling to like lift up Dragapult to like sky. But like I'm thinking like just as like Dragapult would be like starting to like take flight itself, like I'm losing like uh at that point itself like Dragos would be like launching its like ultimate new dragon type attack uh on like Dragapult and that way like Dragapult like totally getting overpowered by Dragos and like Dragapult at that point like totally getting defeated and coming crashing on to like the ground and training straight away. It's like the scenario that I'm developing on the preemption right now. That's what like lots of concepts will be that I'm developing. Okay, so like the new preemption right now as for like Michael job I think on like Dragapult like I'm doing right now for like Leon right now but Leon totally do not do like free Dragapult like I'm doing like Leon right now offering Dragapult to like totally use flamethrower like the scenario that I'm doing. So like I'm that way like Dragapult using that flamethrower while contained within like the job of like microservices like the scenario that I'm doing that way like the flamethrower filling like within that microservice body which like the scenario that I'm doing and at that point is when I'm looking like the whole spike transformation of like microservice like I'm sitting like typically my transformation that like it would be all leading to like some sort of like an ultimate dragon superior leap or like dragon type moves like the scenario that I'm doing. So like I'm doing like a scenario where like dragon would be using flamethrower to like free itself. But like I'm looking like that flamethrower would be like I'm taking like consider setting in like that flamethrower would that would be spilling within like Dracoid, resulting in like an inclination kind of like an effect, causing an inclination kind of like an effect in like that absolute fashion of like Dracoid as like a dragon Pokemon. Like I'm looking like for Dracoid it would be like right now it would be totally a matter of like right as like a dragon Pokemon to like prove that is stronger than a Dragapult right now, and winded by 6 millimeters. So like even that flame program was like at that point, uh, resulting in like basically Dragapult like basically that move that the spike and everything would be like spike transformation and everything would be leading towards like the activation of that move. So like I'm doing that flamethrower from that Dragapult being that final key element that would be igniting that ultimate dragon type powerful move from within like Dracos, which comes within like while holding on to like the jaw by of like Dragapult's head, like I'm saying like Dracos like at that point unleash that unleashing like that ultimate like dragon type move straight towards like Dragapult's face like the scenario that I'm putting, and I'm putting that dragon type move being like extremely intense, and I'm like with that single new dragon type move itself, like I'm putting that Dragapult like thoroughly getting overpowered and instantly Dragapult saying it's like the scenario that I'm putting, and Dragapult and Draco is like totally straight away being victorious, and I'm putting like totally acts like totally not would be like at that point would be seeing that I'm looking at that point that Draco will be that totally so fired up. So like I'm thinking Ash as well would be totally getting into that mood, and I'm like Ash, the last thing Ash at that point would be wanting to do would be to like solve Draco's back. So like I'm looking Ash not doing that, and that's keeping Draco on in like the battlefield. And at that point is when I'm going to bring back most likely Leon like totally bringing out that absolute first, but like I'm putting like Leon at that point, like bringing out this like first Pokemon. This would be like Eternatus like the scenario that I'm doing. That way, like a newly attached and learned like sharp and fired up Draco versus like a legendary Pokemon like Eternatus, like basically that fight happening. In which like I'm doing like still I'm doing like totally contrary to like everyone's expectations, and like still Draco is like putting up like an intense like and again like exceptional fight against like Eternatus, like a legendary Pokemon like Eternatus, and totally giving that causing that significant extent of like a damage to Eternatus is like the scenario that I'm doing. Still I'm doing like initially like Eternatus like totally unleashing like a great extent of the like actual strength, and basically with that attack like I'm doing like Eternatus totally overpowering and defeating Draco. It's like the scenario that I'm doing. Yet like I'm doing even though Draco at that point would be fainting and would be defeated, like I'm doing still by then like Draco would have with its like new ultimate dragon type move like I'm doing like Draco is like causing a lot of damage to Ethernet like the scenario that I'm doing. So like after like a Draco jump in the next Pokemon that like I'm doing like attribute any evil most likely is to like Surface, and I'm doing like Surface not even being able to like remotely uh inflict like nowhere near of like the extent of like damage that Draco by then would have caused to like Ethernet before like Surface would be like easily getting destroyed by Ethernet and fading and getting the like the scenarios that I'm already and that's the image. So that way, like I'm looking like it would be like after like surface defeat, like I'm looking like the next Pokemon extending out like one more Pokemon is like the scenario that I'm looking at. Like maybe it would be like actually like Pikachu. So like I'm looking like Pikachu as well, like I'm looking like maybe doing a certain extent of like causing like using it like Thunderbolt and everything like Pikachu causing like a certain extent of like damage to Eternus before like I'm looking like Eternus like using some sort of like an ultimate like or attack against like Pikachu. And I was like right before that powerful attack will be about to land at Electric as falling back Electric's like and saving Pikachu's like the scenario that I'm in. Then Ash would and then after like launching that ultimate powerful attack like I'm doing like an Ethernet like totally losing control like the scenarios that I'm doing. So like at that point would be when like Ash would be sending out his like Lucario and Mega Lucario, and basically at that point I'm doing like the Mega Lucario totally like taking advantage of that like lack of control situation of like Eternatus to like offer and defeat Eternatus, and that way Mega Lucario being the that Pokemon that will be finally succeeding in like offering and defeating Eternatus. Due to like the help of like the damage like all the other Pokemon would have by then done to like Eternatus as well as like Eternatus. By then like so like possibly having like lost like control as well. It's like feeling to the scenario that I was over. Okay, so like the new expansion right now, yeah, basically regardless of like the dragon tail attack of like Dragapult attack, it's like about to use like I'm going still even that attack won't be able to like free, won't be freeing like Dragapult from like that absolute clutches of like Draco, which is like the scenario that I was saying. So like I'm just like definitely Dragapult like starting to like feel this struggle against that ultimate grip of like of that absolute captivity of like mitosis like the scenario that I'm. So like even with like Dragon Tail failing at that point, I'm like would be when like Leon finally deciding to that attempt at like flamethrower to like free Dragapult. So like that way like would even like Leon would be ordering like Dragapult to use flamethrower and it would be that flamethrower that would be bringing about and activating that ultimate dragon type move like Dragon, which is like my prevention that I'm sitting on the okay, so let us new preemption right now with like Dragapult, like Dragon Tail bringing about like Dragonite, like I'm bring definitely in like the fight between like Dragonite and Dragapult, like, even though Dragapult right now already has like taken like a certain extent of like injury to like Dragapult, like still Dragapult would be exceptionally strong and Dragapult would be totally overpowering and defeating as Dragonite is like the scenario that I'm looking at. So that after that, when like I'm looking soon after like Dragonite will be like defeated on the spring, like Ash will be once again sending back his lag, bring back his lag, Drago, which is like the scenario that I'm looking at. So like at that point, I'm looking like Leon will be totally feeling as his lag along the lines of like his like tried of on the line and basically so like as straight away like that like basically since like from Leon's point of view that when Leon was totally feeling that like he tried to like escape he was like sometimes with like try or like really trying to like escape from like Draco using the dragon tail. So even after like taking out like Dragonite once like had to straight away bring back his like Dracovic like Ambassador like and once again like at that point Ambassador maybe of like two possible scenario maybe like Leon himself gets having this like pride and ego ending up on the line and basically Leon deciding to like throw to like the crowd and to have that basically that this Dragon Part is like stronger than Ash's like Dragon like the scenario that way like Leon takes the decision to like to continue fighting with like Dragon Part against like Ash Dragon. It's like one possible scenario that I'm looking at. The other possible scenario is basically once like Ash, the fundamental mission once like Dragapult will be defeating Dragonite and basically straight away Ash will be like bring out his like Dracovish like bring like at that point like Leon deciding to like call back his like Dragapult quickly. But like at that point like I'm thinking Leon's like Dragapult like totally disagreeing to like Leon to like basically to return. It's like the scenario that I was looking because like at that point, like it would be like a matter of pride and ego for like the Dragapult as well. Since like Dragapult as well as like Dragoshes are like dragon type move, a dragon type Pokemon and basically so like the considering like that rivalry is basically forming not just within like Dragos but also within like Dragapult as well at that point. And Dragapult at that point being as like a dragon Pokemon being wanting to like prove that basically to like Leon and everyone that basically it's like a stronger dragon when compared to Dragos. So like I'm putting that way like the Dragapult was Dragos battle uh assuming at that point is like being just an possible scenario that I'm giving. But like I'm saying once that fight will be assuming like I'm going to complete Dragapult I'm looking like even though once that fight is feeling like I'm looking like Dragapult probably making its like comeback and everything like Dragapult with that absolute determination to prove itself like I'm looking like causing dealing a lot like causing a lot of damage and injury to that Dragapult like the scenario that I'm going to go like Dragapult regardless of like how much like Dragapult will be like attempting using its like transform by state and everything like I'm doing like Dragapult not being able to like capture Dragapult is like the scenario that I was like so like yeah like I'm doing at that point I'm supposed to bring into the like eventually I'm supposed to bring Dragapult like totally like messing up at some point, or like Draco is totally outsmarting, like eventually outsmarting like Draco at some point, and basically that way like Draco is like totally once again capturing like using his like jaw like I'm doing like Draco is like once again capturing like Draco and the next time like Draco will be capturing Draco I'm doing is won't be through like Draco spikes, but like I'm doing sitting in my position that it will be through like Draco like jaw like clenching onto like the wing of like Dragapult reflective scenario that I'm looking at. Maybe at that point would be when like I'm just like uh, at that point I'm also bring like maybe like Leon might once again tell or like Draco to Dragapult to like use its like dragon tail. Maybe like Dragapult at that point refusing to like use its like dragon tail attack because like or like I'm looking like Leon like even though Leon will be having like the option to like use like the Dragon Tail attack like and Leon totally expecting like the feelings of that Dragon Ball to throw itself and Leon deciding to like not and Leon not calling out the Dragon Tail attack and instead like Leon totally maybe using that calling out like flamethrower as well as like other decks of like Dragapult to like have Dragapult be free from like the clutch of like Dragapult just like the scenario that I'm still I'm looking like regardless of how much Dragapult would be trying to like create such like it's not happening and basically Dragapult like at that point would be like finally activating its like new ultimate dragon type move using the sense like Dragapult like totally Drago is like totally defeating Dragon to like the scenario that I'm looking as of right now in my brain. So it's like the film I'm looking at right now, but like Dragon like Dragon this time bring out Mega Lucario like but still even though Ash right now believes that basically he will be able to like bring down Dragon using like Lucario, like Mega Lucario, like I'm looking like definitely still I'm looking like that not ending up eventually ending up not be the case like the scenario that I'm looking still I'm looking like Leon and Dragon which is still outsmarting Mega Lucario as well. And I'm looking like one more like Dragon Tail happening of like the scenario that I'm looking so like I'm looking like regardless of like how much it has chances like Mega Lucario using the or and everything will be trying to like bring down like the Dragon Ball. Like I'm looking like definitely at this point like I'm looking like Leon definitely would be like maybe like Leon like focus would be in like a wavering kind of like a situation where like right now it would be like Leon would be having like more of like a focus into like the battle. So like I'm looking definitely right now like the fact that like Dragapult can fly and just like a ghost type Pokemon like I'm looking definitely so that like Mega Lucario can't use any sort of fighting type moves at all at like Dragapult and on top of that like Mega Lucario having to like fly each and every has to like jump each and every single time whenever it has to like land its attack on like Dragapult. Like basically the situation like I'm sitting right now for like Leon to like only take the maximum advantage of. And I'm looking that way like Dragapult, regardless of whatever or strategy you can look for like Ash and Lucario will be attempting attack to bring down like Dragapult like I'm looking in Dragapult totally and Leon like thoroughly outsmarting them and basically like Dragapult like landing an attack at like Lucario, which will be causing a certain extent of damage to like Lucario. And then the different like Dragapult once again finishing off with like another dragon tail like the scenario that I'm building. And with that dragon tail like the different like Lucario as well going back into like the Pokeball of Ash and I'm bring like then like the next Pokemon that will be coming out would be like definitely Draco like the scenario that I'm looking for right. And from that point on I'm looking like no more of like Dragon like Dragon Tail attempts will be that ending up being effective. It's like one possible scenario that I'm putting. The other possible scenario that I'm sitting on is basically that the scenario in which like most likely Dragapult like basically on seeing like Dragapult again like I'm putting Dragapult probably like uh having that like dragon ability exactly like Dragapult at that point. And basically Dragapult like looking back at like Leon and like basically in that look itself like I'm putting like that scare from like Dragapult towards like Leon says like Leon is already be able to like understand that basically Dragapult doesn't want to like use Dragon Tail against like Drago and basically want to like defeat that to have to go that like the dragon bird is like stronger than Drago and that way like I'm doing the fight happening and like Drago eventually or in defeat right so it's like in the scenario that is like and method in the same way. It is like the minimum preemption right now. It looks like Dragapult using I think like Thunderbolt and basically Lucario using like reversal like I'm looking definitely since like reversal is like a fighting type move like I'm looking right now it's like Lucario as well as right now I'm looking definitely seeing in for like an ultimate surprise like I'm looking like that way. Ash because like I'm looking definitely since like Ash found out reversal and the fighting type move as like a reversal against like a ghost type of thing Dragapult like I'm definitely like I should be totally unaware of like that type those existing for like Dragapult of definitely not so like I should be totally might have totally assumed that basically since like Dragapult was like flying in that basically Dragapult is like dragon and fly might be what like actually thinking so like I'm doing that when visualization for like as right now falling out like a fighting type move like reversal of like Lucario so like I'm looking right now like scenario to be like reversal totally like failing and basically straight away like the thunderbolt of like, I think like of that Dragapult like straight away landing on like Lucario and affecting Lucario like to a certain extent doing damage to like Lucario is like the scenario that I'm doing and straight away uh, I'm looking like Leon at that point straight away like following up like the thunderbolt with like another dragon tail is like the scenario that I mentioned. So like that way, like Lucario on top of taking the damage from like the thunderbolt of like Dragapult, like that Dragapult following that of like the dragon tail and Lucario also taking the damage from dragon tail and like straight away sitting out and basically that would be how like I'm looking right now for like Dragos once again would be like showing up to like the battlefield and facing off against like Dragapult, like the scenario that I'm bringing out so is the clear transition right now with like as like Megalith or like using like a fighter type move like a reversal against like a ghost type Pokemon like Dragapult like I'm thinking that Pokemon might be that even being possible might be solely according to like an logic alone is technically on transition because like I'm thinking like it might have been solely due to like Dragapult like during that time like not using like a ghost type move and like the fact that like Lucario's like a reversal attack not making contact with like Dragapult and instead like the reversal fighting type move of like Lucario only making contact with like the electric type Thunderbolt move of like Dragapult might have been the sole reason for like Ash's like Mega Lucario even being able to like use reversal against like those type Pokemon like Dragapult right now. It's definitely not the growth. It would be like pure and sheer animal killer. Definitely might be the case, definitely no preemption. Okay, so like definitely preemption right now as for like as like Mega Lucario right now being paralyzed through like thunderbolt of like Dragapult. Like right now like the preemption for like upcoming scenario that I'm going to bring it for like definitely for like Leon right now. Like the next thing I'm going to bring Leon to do would be to offer his like Dragapult to use like the flamethrower. So like I'm going to bring right now for like the scenario to be like it being most likely Lucario itself that will be like offering and defeating Dragapult of that scenario that I'm so like I'm just bring that the scenario to be like Lucario probably being consumed and followed by like the entirety of like that powerful that flamethrower and I'm also bring that while this time like I'm since I think like the last time like Rapper I think like this used like flamethrower against like Lucario I think was like when like actually 6,000 like quickly 6,000 like Lucario fall back of like Lucario I'm going to bring so this time I'm going to bring like and not doing that and I'm going to bring time most likely like while Lucario would be like Mega Lucario would be like swallowed by like the flames of like the flamethrower like the bottom about flamethrower which is like super effective against like the state type Lucario at that point like I'm going to bring like absolutely calling out to like Lucario so that basically focus Lucario's like aura. That's like what I'm looking for. So like that way like Lucario while being consumed by like those that flame super effective flamethrowers like Lucario probably focusing on his like aura and I'm looking for like Lucario most likely Lucario most likely while being consumed by the planes like from within like the planes like Lucario probably focusing his like aura and creating this like giant aura here and everything like the like everything like Lucario supporting that giant G max level of like giant extra special like aura sphere that as Lucario alone can use like I'm thinking that as Mega Lucario alone can use like I'm thinking like uh, the Mega Lucario has like throwing that giant aura sphere G-Max level aura sphere at like Dragapult and that would be how like I'm looking right now as for like how the Leon's like Dragapult would be defeated by just like Mega Lucario is like the new scenario that I'm looking for right now and messaging and definitely I'm considering like even after that, even after going through that extreme flamethrower, like a pretty much observation, like the car, Mega Lucario going through that and being followed by that extreme flame, super effective flamethrower and everything would be when like Lucario will be like slowly focusing select or and creating this like huge giant aura sphere, like I'm different like so even after using that aura sphere and Lucario would be like taking out like the trial even after that like I'm since like throughout the entirety of like the creation of like Lugario's like focusing of aura and creation of with the aura of the Lucario would be continuously getting swallowed and attacked by like the flamethrowers, like the scenario super effective flamethrowers like scenario that I'm still considering that as is Lucario alone like basically as Lucario like basically even after like defeating the Royal World like even after taking in like that super effective like flamethrower like for such an extent of time like still has a Lucario and even after going through like all the battles of like as like Mega Lucario so far in like the battle against Leon like still after putting like as Mega Lucario still standing strongly even after taking all that flamethrower and all that explosion and everything, like Ashton is standing firmly while like Ashton is standing firmly while like the Dragapult will be like completely killed by like the giant or sphere. It's like the angel scenario that I'm going to bring up today. Okay, so like looking at the position right now with like Leon's like Dragapult defeating like Ash's like Megalithari. So like right now, position totally reverting back to my earlier position that like uh, after the defeat of like the Megalithari, like I'm going to bring like still like Megalithari has been defeated. Like I'm going to definitely still taking the Megalithari that like natural right now. Like that program natural sending right now will be definitely Dracul. So it's definitely Megalithari. So like I'm like once again it would be like the whole Dracovic versus like Dragapult fight is like the different scenario that I'm thinking of. So definitely I'm going to like once like actually sending out with like Dracovic definitely I'm going to like either for like Leon trying to like fall back to like Dragapult, but like Dragapult only disagreeing because like Dragapult would want to like prove to everyone that he's like the strong Dragapult than Dragapult, or like the other possibility that I'm going for that basically that's like the most deadly scenario that I was about to. And in that battle, like definitely Dragapult like totally outpouring and defeating, eventually outpouring and defeating Dragapult, and still surviving even after that battles and basically like the scenario that I'm going to play Mr.Rime. Oh, yes, like the Mr.Rime right now, but like the defeat of Ashes and like Megadethari, like including Ash, like I don't think that like the Lucario and like Leon is like so really wrong. And basically like Sonia even thinking that like Leon smile shows that he's not worried. Like I'm saying definitely Leon won't be worried right now. Definitely Megadethari, but like definitely I'm sticking to my Megadethari that like Leon might have definitely we might have only mainly lost his like focus in his like battle against us multiple times so far until this point, especially when the reason that if you play the ring of like Leon have basically not much of like just entire time back but like I think like both Axe and Leon at this current situation like basically having lost four of like their Pokemon and still but to this point that Leon's not bringing about much of like strategies at all, like any sort of creative strategies at all into like the battle against Ash, rather than like calling out repeatedly calling out like a bunch of like might be due to this reason, due to that lack of focus, especially memory ambitions, and might be the reason for like I'm doing like Leon mainly the only strategies Leon mainly have even done being like basically freezing like the battlefield and turning it into ice while battling with like Mr.Rime, as well as like the combination of like psychic terrain as well as like the expansion course. Other than that, like basically like the fact that like it's just like basically even like the like the heat of like taking out of like Mega Lucario as well like was just solely due to like the paralysis like effect like Lucario getting caught under like the paralysis effect, like setting in like the car not being able to like dot like the plane or and everything. Still, looking like that like still looking like definitely like even then coming out like an extreme creative strategy, like the fact that like Indian was like totally just like using that thunderbolt, just totally hoping to like to for like luck to totally favor Leon and basically for that thunderbolt from like the Dragapult like to cause like the Mega Lucario to like fall under like paralysis, which like eventually ending up with like luck favoring like Leon and basically Lucario. Mega Lucario ending up being paralyzed, like rather than totally hoping for like that chance and luck, like other than that, like basically mainly so far in like Leon like battle against as like the fact that like Leon haven't like brought out like much of like such creative strategies into like the table in like Leon's like battle against as so far uh, even after like uh, each side has lost for Pokemon, like the fact that like Leon has only brought very few strategical creative strategies or like mostly any strategies at all into like the battle between against like Ash would be solely due to like Leon probably mainly being out of focus in like Leon's battle against Ash. It's definitely memorable. So like even while Sonia right now believes that basically Leon's mind is like Leon not being worried, like I'm assuming definitely that would be the case on like the battle between Ash and Leon had begun like everything like Leon's worries might have disappeared. It might have been only until like the moment like the battle between Ash and Leon had begun that like Leon might have had his like worries. But like the moment like the battle began, like I'm like Leon's mind still might have totally shut off multiple occasions in like Leon's like battle against like so far even to like the recent present even to this point the film member relation. So on multiple occasions, like Leon might have zoned out and have his like mind shut off and like focus, and that would be like such a reason for like this like great undefeated champion Leon, like basically providing such very creative strategies so far in like Leon's like performance in his like battle against as it's definitely my personal and personal right now. Okay, so like the name of the reaction right now is for like Leon right now, starting as like while both Leon as well as Ash right now in the person have lost two of their Pokemon, and that way have like four Pokemon remaining, and that way like since like even while both Leon and Ash are in like equal kind of like a situation, so both of them have four Pokemon remaining, like the fact that Leon is right now all of them sounding as like and that like either will be like Leon like might be like maybe Leon like the script is definitely not different because like Leon might have by stepping into like the battle against Ash like like even though right before that like Leon was like nervous like still Leon might have like basically once like the battle began like like Leon still might have not expected like Ash to like perform as uh, from Leon's point of view, Leon will be totally might have felt overwhelmed by Ash's like performance in his like battle against Leon so far. If you remember that. When in actuality it might be due to like Leon not being able to like perform as per like the bar set by him as per his like usual levels of like battle skills. Like Leon might have definitely in like his current battle against Ash might have definitely not been able to like perform. Definitely make a frame. So because of like Leon having like so far like the battle going on for such a long time between like Ash and Leon and still like Leon having like only just like I think like very few strategies, creative strategies again in his like battle against Ash. Like the fact that like Leon even like definitely by the Raymond. So like I'm thinking like that whole extreme lack of like creative strategies so far. Uh, uh, in like as when it comes to like Leon's performance in like Leon's battle against as like the great undefeated like Leon's performance back when it comes to like his like performance battle against as might be still thinking about the like Leon totally low to focus in like his battle against as like and Leon totally having his like memory like Leon totally getting sidetracked and like his like memory being filled with like the space of like the past and everything is definitely memory and pressure. So like this might have affected Leon's performance and like might have caused like Leon to like totally in a possibly maybe in like a delusional manner like Leon might have could feel maybe that like this like Leon might have felt that like actors like exceptionally performing against like Leon might be along the line Leon might be feeling like right now in like the sense like a possibility that I'm looking. So like I'm just thinking that way Leon might be right now self probably getting the praise and that way, like out of that desperation, like I'm thinking like Leon would be like right now using taunting as like a strategy, which like I'm thinking like might be like something that Leon might have never used in any of the like battles so far. It's definitely not preempted. So like I'm thinking like so like but like right now Leon would be like getting desperate. So like I'm thinking like Leon be using taunting as like a strategy to like bring down as like confidence and morale. It's definitely not preempted. That's like only one possible scenario. One possibility that I'm doing. The other possibility is like why Leon right now will be sounding as the would be maybe it will like the sudden overconfidence that might that Leon might have got right now. It's definitely very grim because like I'm looking like he was like Leon being before it's like that again as when I'm looking so far like seeing as like performance like Leon might have totally been overwhelmed by as like seeing as his performance against like Leon and when in actually I'm definitely in by videos like Leon not being able to like focus much at all in his like that like as it's definitely very impressive. Definitely due to like the reason like I'm feeling like the Black Leon having brought out so much of the Black Pokemon among the like six member Pokemon team with Black Leon having brought out like so much of the Black Pokemon and yet like the fact that like it's like finally Dragapult alone that has basically especially like Leon was able to like fiercely shine and perform so well against like as like teams of since it was like definitely according to my measurement, since it was like definitely a Dragapult alone that was like seriously was able to like put Ash in like feels like a pressure while compared to all the previous Pokemon that like Leon had brought out and compared to all the previous Pokemon that like Leon had brought out in like that against Ash. So like I'm looking at this like sudden exceptional performance of like Dragapult might have given that like extreme sudden overconfidence to like Leon right now. Definitely my so like Leon right now slowly due to like Dragapult's like super performance like Leon right now would be only constantly saying that basically he would definitely certainly would be able to like defeat as definitely my members. So definitely maybe it might be due to this like extreme overconfidence that like Leon is there right now. Sounding as if like the possibility that I'm bringing up to him. Even while them both are in like the very exact same situation with like both of them having lost two Pokemon and even while both of them have like four Pokemon remaining, still him thoughting him Leon still feeling the need to like don't act would be like due to like either one of these two possibilities. Me might be the also, like the new brainstorm right now, like as for me and getting out with like Dragonite, like I'm super like right now with like the Dragapult with the Dragonite fight, like I'm super definitely a sky battle, a whole sky battle happening right now. It's definitely my prediction, but still I'm looking like even with like all the injuries like Dragapult would have taken, like I'm thinking still Dragapult would be like extreme, would be having that extreme superior endurance and stamina, and basically will be extremely tough Pokemon. One of like the different like rifles might be like the exploding while exploding like alternatives like I'm looking like drivers and liberty like the might be like the second strongest Pokemon of like Leon's team after like chapter name and so definitely I'm looking like right now even with like the past like Dragonite like I'm looking at right now for like a whole sky battle with like both like Raptors but just Dragonite taking it to like air to and taking flight and I'm looking like them having that ultimate battle but still I'm looking still even then like I'm looking like with all the injuries like that like Dragapult has taken so far like still I'm looking like Dragapult like still or scoring like as Dragonite and like defeating as Dragonite like this scenario that I'm looking and it will be I'm still thinking about the mention that like after like and I'm looking as definitely not falling back with like Dragonite nor and like beyond falling back with like Dragapult is like the scenario that I'm looking so like Dragapult that way that eventually defeating Dragonite and then like has sending out his like Dracovich, and then Dracovich being like that Pokemon, using like Dracovich is like ultimate new dragon type powerful move, which like Dracovich will be learning. It will be how like Dracovich will be like that Pokemon that will be finally bringing down like the reign of like Leon's like Dragapult, like changing the scenario that I'm sitting on the screen. Okay, so like the trends right now as for like Asher right now using like the brilliant strategy of like getting us like Dragonite to like the very top of the sky and basically using like the Dracometer like I'm different still I'm different like Leon and his like Dragapult would be definitely countering that like I'm different but like it won't be like I'm different definitely that Dracometer would be something that like I'm different definitely uh Dragapult won't be able to like fight back or like defend against at all. It's definitely not and because of the like it being so high up in like sky from which like the Dracometeor right now as Dragonite is like shooting out. Definitely like it will be like the higher from which like the higher the Dracometeor would be like sort out from like I'm saying like the more like the strength and intensity of like the Dracometeor would be is like according to like anime logic might be like there might be such a thing the possibility that I'm looking so like I'm looking like that way. The Dracometeor I'm definitely will be far too intense for like Dragapult to be able to like defend or like fight back against definitely member. So like definitely able to defend right now for like Leon. As like the Dracomiter will be like raining down from such great height like different like Leon probably telling us like Dragapult to like start the Dracometer and then different like that way like that way I'm definitely bringing like a Dragapult like totally dodging like each and every single one of like the Dracometer but like I'm looking like still unbelievable like as like the Dracometer will be attack will be about to be over like like Dragapult like basically getting attacked getting struck by one of like the Dracometer that will be raining down with like the scenario that so like all the other Dracometer I'm considering definitely Dragapult like specifically dodging but like I'm thinking still Dragapult still getting struck by one of like the Dracometer and it won't be like a direct hit but like I'm thinking like most likely maybe Dragapult like maybe one end of like Dragapult like wings getting struck by the certain extent of like the micrometer like the scenario that and that definitely causing like serious levels of damage. But still, I'm assuming like Dragapult still totally being good to go. Stephanie Benjamin still track out. I mean like Dragapult still being able to like the scenario that I'm doing and. But still like Dragapult and Leon is still turning things around and like still Dragapult like I'm looking at the would be like totally or for an defeated at Dragonite is like scenario that I'm looking at. So again, so like definitely mentioned right now with like as Dragonite like capturing like a Dragapult and this league with like actually like ultimate strategy right now of like a Dragonite meteor like I'm looking like even with like Thunderbolt not right now not affecting Dragonite like I'm still sticking to my with the for like Dragapult still turning things around and I'm hoping that to do probably through like through like that ultimate Dragon Tail attack that like still Dragapult has. It's definitely not the famous, but like I'm going to narrate that this is precisely happening when I had to be totally hopeful and I'm like with like that ultimate Dragonite meteor attack with like Dragonite holding on to like Dragapult and as like as Dragonite will be about to right as the Dragonite will be about to like release and throw like Dragapult onto like the ground like right before that like I'm looking would be when like either Leon straight away most likely I'm looking like Leon straight away ordering like Dragapult to use its like Dragon Tail attack. So like at that very last second I'm looking like Dragapult like basically extending its tail and basically with that like tail of like Dragapult like I'm looking like it's striking Dragonite is like the scenario that I'm looking. So like at that point, I'm definitely putting like Dragonite not at all getting switched. Like I'm even before like Dragonite would be getting switched. Like I'm instant like Dragon Tail is like Dragon Tail like I'm looking like with that I'm looking like it will be hit for like Dragonite is definitely no problem because like I'm looking like Dragon as Dragonite would be having like nowhere near like the levels of like cosplay experience as well as like the stamina and endurance of like Leon's like to try to participate in my pyramid. So at least sleeping in my pyramid so that like Leon's part to be like Leon's like second strongest Pokemon after like Leon's chapter in my pyramid. So like I'm thinking like it could be that twist happening with like the scenario that I was using that Dragon Tail attack of like Dragon Pulse strategy like striking at like Dragonite right before like Dragonite would be able to like release that like ultimate Dragonite meteor attackers like the scenario that I would take. That way like the moment Dragonite so like once like Dragonite will be getting struck by like the Dragon Tail attack like since it's like a super effective since like Dragonite attack and since it's like super effective and on top of that like I'm just like Dragonite would have totally reached as Dragonite and it might have by now reached with like limited step limit on the range so definitely like with that single dragon tail attack, like I'm like actually Dragonite like totally fainting as like the scenario that I'm looking and like fainting and like crashing onto like the ground of like the scenario that I'm looking. And then due to like the effect of like the dragon tail attack, like the fainted Dragonite of Ash like straight away run back to like Ash's Pokeball. Just like the scenario without like Ash like extending out his like Pokeball and calling back like fainted Dragonite even before that like I'm using like choosing like the secondary effect of like the dragon tail attack, like I'm doing like the painted dragonite of Ash, like which is turning back to like as for the world, like the scenario that I'm looking and dragon still surviving. It's like a scenario that I'm looking and dragon still keeping up its like momentum and basically still staying strong. Just like that, it's like the scenario that I'm looking. So like yeah, like still I'm looking like dragon would have taken collectively so far like trial but would be like would have totally taken a lot of that injury definitely. So like I'm thinking like definitely trial would be slowly nearing close up toward its limit as well as definitely not still I'm looking like trial still surviving that battle against like at Dragonite and basically just Dragonite like failing and getting defeated by like trial for beyond trial for just like the scenario that I'm doing. And like then like as sending out is like next Pokemon and that would be like definitely Dracovic, like the scenario. And Silicon would mention that like to be as like Dracovic that will be repeating like Leon like one called like being the scenario that I was thinking on the doing. Okay, so like the moving to the preemption right now as for like the fact that we right now feel the need to like point out and specifically mention that the fact that like all of Ash's like the remaining Pokemon are all worn out like and while sending out like a relevant like that would definitely lead to like Leon right now in like the present totally feeling that pressure and feeling it extremely insecure and only feeling that pressure and like even feeling as if like they really the possibility of that him because being getting defeated by Ash. Like Leon right now in the present movie only feeling a bit of fear within him, especially with him because of that the that like Ash maintaining that lead over Leon without much great inconsistency since like the beginning of like as battle against like Leon so far like and since that would it only giving that zero pressure to Leon because like I'm thinking that something like just happening in like Leon's life might have been something that might have only happened in like Leon's life since like Leon's like first battle that Leon might have had in life against like Sonya. In which like Leon might have totally lost against like Sonya. Definitely one very much on that I'm thinking also. So like I'm sort of take down Leon but Leon right now in the person would be in the current situation like Leon right now would be right now all of a sudden would be feeling that pressure and fear is definitely going to be like the possibility of like basically the Black Ash without much great inconsistency, still being able to like maintain that lead, like Leon would be like feeling that fear within him of like the possibility of like exactly like how and with like definitely Ash like man with the man personality will be like definitely sitting about the him and would be reminding Leon so much of like Sonya back when Sonya was like a child and like when Leon might have had to sacrifice battle against Sonya in which like Leon might have lost to like Sonya. So remember him. So like all these things like collectively would be like creating that swing pressure within like Leon and that way like Leon would be totally feeling desperate and that way feeling like the need to like mention and specifically pointing to point out that like all of like as remaining Pokemon are like worn out and that would be that absolute desperation within like Leon totally expecting and totally hoping desperately hoping that basically due to like all of us like remaining Pokemon being worn out like basically him hoping that basically, and him would be like Leon will right now totally would be putting all that extreme expectations on like and hope on like a Level who's like right now entering into like the battlefield for like the first time in like Leon's like battle against has like basically possibly being able to like turn things around like it would be like most likely Leon's like like since like Leon starts out as well I think like haven't like so far in the having like entered into like the battle against like as like I'm reviewing Lebo and Chapter right now would be like Leon's like the last hope definitely Michael Brandon because like I think like basically all the other Pokemon of like Leon about like the other Pokemon of like Leon like some have ended up being trained and like the remaining ones that are still part of like Leon's team are also worn out. So like I'm thinking that Leon would be totally and with like once again like the lead being in like the favor of as like I'm thinking like definitely Leon would be totally feeling that pressure and that fear and like would be totally betting it all on like basically like Renabo and Charizard to be able to like seriously turn things around. So like I'm thinking right now Leon won't be having like much of like an expectation on like the remaining Pokemon in like a Leon's team that would have already that are already worn out just definitely one of the premise. So like definitely Leon will be placing a whole lot of focus on the latter level. But I'm going to bring definitely that of extreme expectations of like a Leon for me that like good scenario that I'm because like I'm even in like I think like in like the master series like uh where like the Leon like a level had basically taken out I think like an opponent like great number of Pokemon single-handedly. Like I think like it's still improving in the case of like Leon's like Leon's like fight performance against like Ash team like I'm looking definitely that not being possible for like Leon. Definitely went to the range. So like that Leon was like right now since like Leon is like facing off against like as Dragonite and since like Leon can't fly and since like Leon is like a grass type well Dragonite is like fast flying type and basically since like Dragonite also has like powerful hurricane attack as well. Like I'm saying, like definitely Dragonite right now would be in an extremely advantageous situation. Like the fight against like Leon, especially when the so like Leon like so Leon who considering definitely he has that high expectations on like Leon would be definitely having his like getting his like expectations getting crushed seriously through just by at Dragonite alone is like it's another that so like I'm doing like as a Dragonite I'm considering most likely with like it's like hurricane as well as like its like ability to like fly itself like and like Dragonite like totally being succeeding in like defeating like Leon in that level Leon like level not even being like painting without even being able to like defeat not even a single person of matches like the scenario that I'm using as a epic and you know, totally appreciate. So that remember the episode that like the LP Pokemon that Leon loses against like Ash Pokemon and like every time like Ash maintains that like lead against like this lead against like Leon like Leon will be getting more and more desperate and like Leon's like confidence would be like crumbling more and more. Was definitely my considering and for example like that desperation of like Leon like this like great undefeated champion like basically another thing like the entirety of like the crowd like only slowly noticing that absolute undefeated champion like Leon like basically who always maintains his like absolute confidence and like relaxed state like getting more and more desperate as like the battle begins like as will be producing more and more as like Leon will be losing more and more of his Pokemon and as he'll be like uh, maintaining his lead more and more like the scenario that I'm putting. So definitely I'm looking like as totally maintaining his lead, even though it might be I'm preferring it to be through inconsistency, still I'm looking like as totally still maintaining his like lead all the way until like Leon will be down to his like last performance like chapter out of like the scenario that I'm putting. And I'm looking definitely to be like Leon's chapter that would be like totally entirely turning things around for like Leon and finally would be like destroying Ash's lead against like Leon's like the scenario that I'm describing. So and I'm definitely putting like Leon basically fighting with his like chapter and like easily taking out at least two Pokemon of like taking out like two Pokemon of that uh, before like and I'm like it would be only one like to be down to his last perform which I'm still taking remember the mention with the Ash of figure to that like it would be only at that point that like Leon would be even like Gigantamax and like Charizard stepping even into it. Until that point like I'm looking like Leon like totally fighting with like Charizard without Gigantamax in it. Yet like I'm looking like Leon's Charizard being so from that ability. It's still taking out like two of Ash's Pokemon, stepping on experiment. So like until like Leon will be down to getting down to this like last Pokemon like and at that point, like I'm looking like Ash would be having like I'm looking like a two Pokemon lead, like with like since like currently right now Ash has like kind of like maintained in a consistent manner, like has maintained that one Pokemon lead against like Leon and like by the time Leon would be down to his like last Pokemon starter, like that lead would be only increasing to like the point of like Ash having the lead against Leon with like two of his Pokemon, with like two of Ash's Pokemon, like the scenario that I'm looking at. So like I'm looking at that point, at least the crowd, I'm looking like the majority of like the crowd at that point, I'm just like would be getting like extremely insecure. It's like the scenario that I'm looking because like the majority of the crowd I'm looking would be like cheering for like Leon. They and when we think Leon as their great undefeated champion hero, it's definitely not the way. So like seeing that champion hero for the first time, like being in ending up in such an extreme situation losing kind of lack of situation with like Leon being down to his like last Pokemon at Ash at that point would be having like three of his black Pokemon remaining like basically that Pokemon like totally even causing like the crowd to like totally get insecure to the point of like Pokemon like them maybe even shouting against like Ash to like and desperately trying to like bring down Ash morale as well. It's also like in this was scenario that happening because like they would be like even the crowd will be getting desperate to like save their hero, like to save the image of like their hero of that undefeated status of service like Leon holds on to. It's definitely necessary, so definitely that eventually happening is also like an individual of the scenario that I'm told is like and at that point I was just maybe for like the insecure crowd like at that point like slowly starting to like get aggressive and basically they are like shouting and basically then shouting against like Ash and everything. So like at that point like Ash maybe getting worried. But like at that point I was like beyond probably like shouting out at them and like stopping them and silencing them and basically telling them that basically that it is like the best trainer that is like regardless of like who it is. So it should always be like the best trainer that should always be like the winner. Like basically, so like I'm doing along with this like some people like Leon telling them to like quiet down and basically and like along the lines of like the battle is not still not over along the lines as well like Leon telling them and basically that way like the crowd calming down like and then like once like I should be defeating Leon like at that point I was like the crowd being so extremely emotional and like the majority of the crowd being extremely emotional and the majority of the crowd is actually crying at seeing like their undefeated champion hero Leon like basically ending up losing for like the first time. Maybe along the line they were sitting, but like I'm looking at that point, just like I'm thinking after like Leon like lose and defeat against like Ash, like I'm just like Leon at that point felt that making that confession is like listener issue, like the entirety of like the crowd, like Leon at that point in like from like that battlefield itself, like I'm like I want like the battle will be over, like Leon at that point itself and making that confession to like the extremely emotional crowd that basically that he's not like an undefeated champion like basically like even before fighting off against like as he was already not an undefeated champion. That image of like Leon was like totally fake would be along the line from the member mission like at that point like Leon would be like making that finally making that reveal to like the entirety of like the crowd, emotional crowd and basically that way Leon would be at only at that point would be feeling free as if like a lot was like lifted off like Leon's like chest and like Leon at that point, like totally revealing to like the entirety of like the crowd that basically in Leon's like first battle that Leon has fought in his like first Pokemon battle that Leon has fought, like Leon had basically lost. And it was against like Sonia. Everything like I'm looking like that way, like Leon revealing to like the entirety of like, the crowd, like the scenario that I'm covering. That way Sonia getting a lot of attention from like the crowds and everything. Is the crowd will be totally shocked and like hearing that like the scenario that I'm covering. So and then after something like Leon continuing on his speech where like Leon will be totally praising Ash and basically Leon will be like telling like the crowd how like basically and praising Ash and telling it was like Ash victory over like Leon was like the result of like Ash like never giving up attitude and his like dedication and his like persistent hard work over like the course of all these years and basically that way like I'm like uh, that basically like that way, like I'm looking like Leon giving that speech to like audience, and at that point, I'm looking like the audience as well, like totally finally getting over like the insecurities, and I'm looking like at that point, like the audience like totally cheering for like not only us but also Leon as well together, like for both of them together. While Leon at that point would be like I'm looking like would be raising up like as and basically would be like declaring that like the new ultimate champion, Pokemon champion is that no more him but like it's like as catcher from Paletown. Then along the lines like I'm sure like Leon would be like lifting at his and basically declaring to like the audience and to like live TV and everywhere. Like the scenarios that I'm looking so like at that point I'm looking like to see like Brock and all of them like at that point being all of like as like previous travel partners like all of them like basically being shown at that point of like the scenario that I'm looking like all of them like excitedly watching through like the television as like basically them witnessing like as finally achieving this exact goal of becoming like that Pokemon like that Pokemon champion like and standing beside like Leon and like has like the winner has like standing there like basically it's like the scenario that I'm Indian find scenario that I'm looking for and my first game. Okay, so let's let me trend right now. Let's talk like the fact that like the great undefeated champions Leon like basically ordering that ordered his like Dragapult in like Leon's like great strategy to strategical attempt to like free his like Dragapult from like the clutches of like as Dragonite while as Dragonite was like executing its like Dragonite meteor attack like the fact that like Leon at that point like came up with like Johnny strategy that like Leon could like the great undefeated champion Leon could come out of this dispute that the just thought it's like Dragapult to just use its like counterboard attack on like as Dragonite while like the Dragapult already had its like Dragon Tail attack with which like Leon could have ensured like the ensured that like Dragapult survival and like and Leon could have like ensured that it's like Dragapult will be getting free from like the clutches of like and like of as a Dragonite and like from like uh, Dragonite like Dragonite nature attack like the fact that like such an obvious strategy which like Leon had already the great undefeated champions Leon had already used to that free like the very same Dragapult during its like battle against like Axis Dragapult to exactly free like Leon like Dragapult from like the clutches of like Axis Dragapult using like the Dragon tail like the fact that Leon have already used such a strategy to free like the very same Pokemon Dragapult and yet like this very same Leon, like the fact that the great undefeated champion is very same Leon, like while as the Dragonite was like executing its like ultimate like Dragonite meteor attack, like the fact that this very same Leon like totally ordering it's just like Dragapult as like the attempt to like free his like Dragapult and save like Dragapult from like the Dragonite meteor attack, like the fact that this very same Leon basically ordering like Dragapult to use Thunderbolt instead of like Dragon Tail at that point to like free that like would be definitely something like it could have like totally since like Dragapult itself is like a dragon type Pokemon and since like Dragon Tail itself is, since like Dragon Tail is like a dragon type attack as well and since like Dragonite is like a dragon type Pokemon and since like that way since like dragon type attack is like has like the advantage over like dragon type Pokemon so like since collectively because of all the solutions that since like Leon had like the fact that if like Leon at that point had ordered like his like Dragapult to use like it's like Dragon Tail attack like not only like Dragapult would have ensured to like survive and to get free from like the clutches and from like the Dragonite meteor attacks but like also like the since like there might have been also like that way like there might have been the possibility of like basically that Dragon Tail attack of like Dragapult might have uh, even like either taken out like and defeated like as a Dragonite or like the fact that that Dragon Tail attack could have like caused like extreme damage to like as Dragonite while also like switching out as Dragonite and the fact that like since like as like remaining Pokemon are all born out like the fact that like there could also be like the possibility of like through such a manner like basically like Leon like Dragapult before like it collectively wears uh out of like the extreme collective exhaustion and injury like the fact that like even before that like even before like Leon Dragonite Dragapult like that way will be like eventually painting the fact that like Leon that way like through the Dragon Tail strategy Leon could have like basically after having like as Dragonite at that point getting switched out and like Leon for surviving that Dragonite nature attack with the fact that like Leon could have at least caused like significant using a very same Dragonite could have at least caused like significant damage to like the one of next Pokemon of Ash which would be showing up at that point or like since like Ash Pokemon is like remaining Pokemon are all worn out like the fact that like there was also like the possibility of like Leon's like Dragapult maybe even being able to like take out like the next Pokemon of Ash, which like one of like really before like Leon's Dragonite would be getting defeated before like Leon's like Dragonite would be getting defeated. The fact that Leon had all these like possibilities and opportunities through that single dragon by if like Leon had ordered that single dragon tail attack of like Dragapult while Dragonite was like executing its like Dragonite nature attack and the fact that like the great and defeated champion Leon couldn't come up with like such an obvious strategy at that point and instead ordering is like Dragapult to use Thunderbolt against like Ash Dragonite at that point will be definitely due to like skepticism and potential will be definitely due to like Leon suddenly being distracted and not being with like user self and not at all being able to like perform not at all being able to like deliver his like actual so usual performance in Leon's like that against Ash which would have uh, which would have allowed Leon to like maintain his like title of being with luxury undefeated champion. It's definitely my favorite. So definitely I'm remembering like definitely since like the fact that like in like right off like the bat in like after the battle against like Leon the fact that like even though in like a tiny bit of like an even if it was in the thing through like a tiny bit of like an instance man still the fact that like overall like Ash was able to like so far in like Ash's battle performance against like Leon the fact that like Ash was able to like in a way kind of like maintain his like indeed over like this great very same great undefeated champion Leon would be definitely not used to like as delivering some sort of like an exceptional performance. But like for my position, it might be actually due to like extreme underwhelming performance, which like in actuality might be what like Leon might be right now performing in this like that will be delivering in as this like battle performance that right now it is like battle against as definitely my position might be due to like Leon probably being distracted because like I'm looking like has his like personality and like man might be like reminding Leon so much of like Sonia and basically if the remember like back when like Leon was and Sonia was like work children and basically back then might have been when like Leon might have had his like very first battle in his life. In this like Leon might have embarrassingly lost against like Sonya might have been what might have happened back then. So like I'm observing right now like person like seeing Ash's like personality and Manson might be like reminding Leon so much of like that Sonya back from that just about certainly to whom like Leon had like probably and the best really might have lost. It's definitely so like this distraction of like Leon might be causing Leon like an extreme production in that quality of that performance of that Leon's uh, that is in that Leon's battle against in Leon's performance in the like battle against Ashes. Secondly, when about which like neither Ash nor Sonya nor like the majority in that audience would be even aware of supplement of the position. This might be the reason for like why Leon's like Michael had like just now earlier had lately defeated like Ash's like Mega Lucario. At that point, like Ash as well as like Sony as well as like a great number of like the crowd like basically being so extremely impressed with like Leon's performance actually all due to that them totally most likely totally being unaware of like how much of like reduction in like uh might be doing that them all being collectively totally being unaware of like how much of like an actual production in like the actual quality and like the actual true levels of that from like the actual true levels of like performance of like Leon which like Leon right now in actuality might be even delivering in his like bad performance against Cash. It's definitely one of the dreams to like